What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos, taking a look at the upcoming UFC London card, which of course is Evloev versus Murphy. And to do all of that with me, as always, you know him, you love him. He's the man, he's the myth, he's the legend, he's the Ohio player, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
I'm very good. Obviously, it is Monday night, everybody. We had fights on Saturday. We had some fights before Saturday, but it is now Monday and we get to talk about them. I'm having a great goddamn day, everybody. Let's get some fucking talking done.
Absolutely. Likewise, here, having a good day and enjoying being here to talk about these fights already, even before we start. So, off to a good start, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Well,
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, Che, I know that you had intimated that there was some type of
Mhm.
announcement. I also have an announcement, so I didn't know if you wanted to get those out of the way now or if you wanted to wait. You tell me what you'd like to do here.
Let me preface this by saying that yes, there is an announcement coming. There is something going down later in this stream, but I'm not here to give it to you yet, everybody. You have to be a little patient. There is a fight during this specific breakdown that we are going to talk about. That there is yes going to be some sort of surprise for everybody. You know, it's not just for the audience, it's for Thinker, it is for myself. This is going to be awesome, and I want you to sit back and think like what could he have cooked up? What could one of these fights have cooked up for Chase to do? Think about that. And then while we do that, Thinker is going to talk about his surprise, I think.
Okay, yes. Well, so, well, first of all, I mean, obviously, I'm on the edge of my seat wondering what you're talking about, Chase. So, this is going to be exciting for me for sure. But yes, I know that the chat has been asking about it. I know that the Discord has been asking about it. I know that we have been talking about it for the longest of times. So, yes, I am very happy to say that finally we are going to be doing the big merch drop. We are going to be having this all come out. The story is ready to go. All of the merch has been checked out. So we are going to be doing the big merchandise reveal for both Yama and last week's fights on Wednesday. So 2 days from today, people. Wednesday night, probably at I'd say 8 o'clock, either 8 or 9, whatever. I will let you know the exact start time. I'm going to be putting a channel post out about it on the YouTube channel. I will announce it in the Discord as well. But Wednesday night, be here for the full reveal of all of the merchandise. And if you are here early on that stream, there's going to be a very special thank you for all of you guys who have been so amazingly patient with this process. I know it's been a very long time coming and everybody is chomping at the bit. And I'm so insanely grateful that that is the case. But for your patience, you will be rewarded.
Absolutely. And listen, to anybody out there who knows, Thinker had told you when he gets to that number, what was it, 1,000? It was a
1,000,
thousand
yeah.
subs. Merch will come. And you guys are out here supporting the shit out of us. So I appreciate everybody. And on Thinker's behalf, thank you guys for just supporting us all. You know, we're just doing great. You know, we're living it up, and you guys are just giving us a reason to be able to do that. And I think it's awesome. And hopefully, and I say this with a lot of grace, hopefully you guys support the merch in a way that I think is deserved, because the merch is really sick. Like the designs that I looked through for Thinker, I even gave him a little tip on one or two. Just listen, guys, just hear me out. But they're all sick. They are all sick. So just get ready for some good stuff. I'm telling you.
I appreciate that. And, I know I say it every single stream, how much I appreciate you guys being here, how much I appreciate the support. I say it because I absolutely mean it. I know Chase means it as well. We're very, very lucky and very blessed to have the community that we have right now already that's continuing to grow. And, I really cannot wait to get this out to you guys so that you can continue supporting and wear it proudly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Whamma, actually, yeah, shout out TJF. At this moment, we will give a shout out to everybody who's going to be
Please.
wearing the merch. TJF, Johnny the God, Meat Rocket, of course, you were first, by the way. I saw you. And Bleeding Edge, I saw you were second. Johnny, you were third, but it's okay. You were a little late. TJF, it doesn't matter what place you're in, you're always the GOAT, brothers. Appreciate you. And yes, Whamma one more time.
And yes, and John Dong too. Of course, saw you in there as well, brother. Yeah, no, absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for your patience, for your interest. And Wednesday's the big day. So, looking forward to that as well. So we'll see you back there on that. But of course, that is all for the future, Chase. We got fights to talk about right now. So, I mean, what do you want to do? You want to talk a little bit about what we watched before? I think you wanted to talk a little about one, right?
Yes, there was a couple different things that I wanted to talk about with one, and they do lead into, a couple different things that I think should be, well, maybe a discussion that we'll have, of course. So this weekend of one, absolutely by far the most eye pokes I've ever seen in the organization, because we had not one fight stop to an eye poke in the morning card, which again, if we want to make a discussion, this guy got poked in the eye. He continued fighting, and then at the end of the round, his eye was still not opening. And then his coach called the fight, and that's how it went. I'm not trying to be the one to say that there's a certain champion in the UFC who could have learned a lesson or two, but listen, if his eye didn't open, I can't say too much. I mean, he stood and got the other dude's hand raised, or they didn't get either hand raised, I guess, but he stood there and he couldn't see, So shout out him for, at least finishing the round and showing a little bit of grit there. But yes, should not have had the fight end in an eye poke. But then we had another fight shortly after that get eye poked, and then it went to commercial, and we came out and we came back, and the dude's just walking out the fucking ring, and I'm like, what are we fucking doing here? So it was absolutely crazy. And then I know we got a couple eye pokes in the later card that night. So what do you
Yeah.
think, Joker?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a concerning, to be perfectly honest. I mean, one championship was a place that, with the more laxed global rule set, they have a lot more leeway. You hate to see this creeping into such a good product. We are both huge fans of one. I mean, we try to watch one as much as possible. I also watched the late one card, and there was definitely some good stuff on there. But when it comes to the fouls, literally, if you go back to the watch along for UFC, which this was a fantastic UFC card, so really, I mean, like it unfortunately was only a couple of marrings of that with some foul issues, but it's the fouls, it's the oversight, it's the stuff that we are always constantly talking about and constantly complaining about, because they are big issues to the sport, and it's just very concerning to think that those types of issues could possibly bleed over into other great products. I mean, I would hate to see that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because we all know the UFC doesn't have the eye poke issue down, but one has an interesting way to battle the eye pokes. They have the card system. They have the red and yellow cards. They have multiple yellow cards though. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know you could get more than one yellow card. So they just keep giving warnings, and then they never end up giving the red card. So I was kind of flustered by that. Like, what's the point of the red card if you're just gonna give multiple yellow cards? Like, did it stop at two? I don't know, but it shouldn't have. It should have stopped at one. At the first one, it should be yellow and then red, but they didn't have it down. This was not my favorite event because of that reason, but again, it is part of the sport at the end of the day. We just see a lot of people normally in one. They get eye poked or they get grazed and they continue on, and or they don't even stop fighting. So it is a little, uh, we saw people making more of an issue out of it this time around, I would say. Not more eye pokes per se, just more or less the fights being stopped because of it. It was just really kind of a bad weekend for it, I would say.
Yeah, the morning one cards are generally some really really good ones. That's why we're always saying, if you see Chase live, go and watch those fights along with him, because it's a great way to start your day, and it's a great entertainment value of a lesser watched product. I want to say a lot of times, at least in the Western world, but that was one of the lesser cards, I would say, and then that the eye poke certainly did not help that. The evening card, I thought was very good. I did enjoy that. Two standouts from that, of course, the main event, Jarvis. This guy Jarvis out of England is he's becoming quite a star over there and won championship. So good win for him over Simsarat. Right? Am I
Sounds
Simsamat?
right, man.
I think yeah, Sim Summit, I believe, is the guy he fought. But great win for him, good hard fight. And then Hugh. Hugh is the other big star. This dude, Hugh. This guy has got out of Japan. Dude is a star in the making for sure. Very hardcore fight style, and a fan friendly fight style. Dude goes balls to the wall.
Was that the kickboxer?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah. Or I actually, he maybe not was a kickboxer, but they met in kickboxing for this bout, I think is what it was, maybe.
I think so. I know that this was kickboxing because, of course, he was kind of talking about Takeru, and
Hmm.
how like I guess he was an inspiration, and of course Takeru is at the end of his career. So they're talking about possibly, I guess, getting the two of them to fight maybe for Takeru's last fight, perhaps. I don't know if that's the case or not, or what how that's all going to work out. But all I know is that Q is next up, because if you can get a knockout in kickboxing in one championship, you instantly stand out.
Yeah. And then another one that I wanted to talk about, we had Supergirl. who got
Yes.
finished in the first round with a body shot. One, I mean, they probably added up, but she got punched one time in the tummy and she fell down, and the ref didn't let her back up. That's just kind of how it goes. So what do you think of that?
I mean, unfortunate, but Supergirl also ended up retiring after that fight. She
True.
retired. She retired at 22 years old, and she had been fighting for like 9 years. That, of course, very common in Thailand and that part of the world when it comes to combat sports. I actually read Supergirl's statement after she retired and like what her reasoning was, and I thought it was entirely appropriate. Obviously, a fight like that, with how that went down, you could kind of tell maybe, you never want to assume, but like based on what we saw, maybe her heart was not in it. And then she confirmed that in her statement. Basically, she loves Muay Thai, but she doesn't want to actively be fighting anymore. She's got different priorities, and she's been fighting since she was so young. Anyway, 22 years old. She's a model. She's got other things that she could be doing. I think it's perfectly fine that she does not continue on with combat sports.
Absolutely. But no, that one was definitely an interesting one also to touch on. And then the last one that I think I want to talk about is the woman. I don't remember her name, but unfortunately, the only thing that I could say that would describe her to me is that she was the Hobbit, and she was doing very, very well. She got a TKO. From ground and pound. It was a pretty crazy moment because I'm pretty sure in the replay, the way that I saw it, right? I'm watching. She's on ground and pound. She's not doing really much. The ref like pans across the camera, and then the girl's like sleeping, and it's like, oh, whoa, where did she go? Absolutely, put on the ring one more time. I'm going to say it because Thinker didn't get it in the chat. She slipped on the ring and then finished that attack. Like, that's how hobbitish she was. I'm just letting you know.
One ring to rule them all. Yes, yeah. That was the Greek Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget what her actual is. I want to say it's Mikola Kakus, but that is
No,
not
you're
her
right.
last
It
name.
is. No, it was. It
Was that
actually
her
was.
actually
It's
her
something
name?
like that for sure.
Something close to that, if not that exactly. But yes, yeah, no, she went out there and did great. Definitely a good representation for our Canadian friends, and of course we have plenty of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And chat one more time, were we confirming that she was legalized as a dwarf or not? I mean, listen, one has made me question it twice now. I've seen there was another guy, I forget his name. He might have even won, but he was almost absolutely 5 foot tall, and like the proportions were throwing me off a little bit. Obviously, with the woman that we saw on Friday, proportions not as dwarfish, but still the height was pretty crazy. So shout out to her because she's actually defying a lot of things here. Her base sturdy,
Yeah,
the low center of gravity, guys. I mean, this is exactly what you get out of somebody like that. She's on the way to the top, but she's a little
absolutely.
old, so
True. Yeah. Hey, could always still could happen, and that's one of the things about one championship that I very much appreciate. Granted, it kind of by necessity has to skew a little bit to the smaller frames and whatnot. That side of the world generally they skew a little bit smaller, but I think it's a great opportunity for people from all over the world to be able to compete and be actively in competition because of that being the case. Not everybody is naturally going to be blessed with height, I mean, or size or whatever. Like, you can still be a high level athlete no matter what size you are, and one championship allows that.
and that's what's beautiful about mixed martial arts, everybody, is, when you look at a lot of other sports, there's typical builds, there's typical frames, there's a lot of similarities between what you have to be to get into that professional sport. Mixed martial arts, there's one of everything. There truly can be one of everything. If Chris Barnett can exist, like it's just how the sport goes, guys.
That is big facts. Absolutely. The last thing I wanted to touch on outside of what we are going to go over tonight is I did watch another run of Combate Global. It was fun, not as fun as the first time that we had watched it. Not as many finishes on this card, and yet another one that was a little bit wonky at the very end. We had a fight that it was the main event, but it didn't take place as the last fight. This is, I think, now the second time that they have done this. I don't know if this is a normal thing for some promotions because RWS that we watch, the Muay Thai promotion, we've been doing those on Sundays, even if we did not do it this past Sunday. But we watch that, and then they have title fights before their main events, which is a little strange to me as well. Whatever the case may be, this was the marquee fight on the card. It took place before the final fight, and then because I guess they had another fight drop out, they started to play a replay of the previous week, and then just cut the stream off altogether. So
God.
It was a little bit strange. I was to say, like, I like Combate Global a lot. I think it is a quality promotion overall. The presentation looks great. Like the venue that they have is really nicely set up. It's got all these LED screens all over the place. Visual presentation wise, very, very cool. Little weird things here and there that make it maybe like they could oil the machine a little bit better, get the gears turning a little bit smoother. But overall, still a fun time, and it's a nice way to have like a bite-sized card because usually it's only like 4 fights total, and we were done within under 2 hours time. So definitely, definitely a little fun, like kind of just quick punch of a couple of fights and on your way.
I do still like the idea of that. Just get in and get out with some fights. Don't be there all day because people have lives, unfortunately, and that's just what it's about. But I want to go ahead and, well, first, shout out CTE, shout out Tyler Betts, Jeremy Hall, of course, and Hydra. Jesus, everybody fucking popping out today. I like this comment from Johnny the God. I think you should answer this one.
Sure.
PFL Madrid this Friday. What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm thinking the same thing that we think about PFL all the time is that, cool that they're doing an event in Madrid. I like that they're going global. PFL has been making a concerted effort to be more global, so that's good. But do I care? I mean,
Well,
it's like it's hard. They make it hard to care. Sorry, Chase, go ahead.
no, here's the thing. I think you should care, and here's the reason why. You're thinking it's like, okay, PFL's going global. Why should I care? No, PFL's not going global. They're going specifically to every place that the UFC have said that they are going to. And maybe this is some sort of a ploy. Maybe Dana just does this. Like, yeah, we're gonna go to Africa. We're gonna go have a card, and the PFL's like, we gotta go to Africa. There's money out there. They're gonna fucking pay us for this fucking card. And
Yeah,
then
they're
they
just
go out and broke, like
sitting there writing down every location so that they can get one up on it. No, absolutely. I'm fine with that part of it. That's not why I don't necessarily care. I want them to go to every city on the planet. I just also would like quality fights on top of that. Like take these fights to these cities and actually make me care about the fights themselves because every time, barring maybe I think one of the very early times that I watched PFL, I just am not compelled to follow along. Like it does not give you a reason enough. We've been seeing talent hemorrhaging out of that organization. We've all of the stuff with Francis, all the stuff that we have always talked about with PFL is really coming to a head at this point. I feel like with their leadership leaving, the botched nature of the Francis and Jake Paul deals. I mean, there's so much stuff with PFL that is in the negative, and on top of that, the fights do not compel you to watch. So if I do not see Usman Nurmagomedov or fucking Paul Hughes, it's like Dakota Jicheva. Like I've now named.
Alexander Romanov.
Oh yeah, well there you go, and now you see the drop off that we've just created there. But like of those three that I named, those are basically the three biggest names that they have right now. Do you mean to tell me that any one of those three, maybe barring Dakota Ditcheva, is appointment viewing?
No, unfortunately, the thing that I was going to say is me personally, I feel like the people who watch PFL are just the people who like to keep up with the fighters post UFC. It's like, oh, well, this is some people go, like I said, Alexander Romanov. There's people who, yeah, he's a meme and yeah, King Kong, but like if people like fighters, and like we have all the time in the world, if I can watch if I have the time to watch all the promotions, why not watch the dude that I just saw in the UFC 2 years ago? I mean, I could see the opportunity for it, but this week on Friday, will I be turning on Vice TV to watch Madrid PFL? Most likely, the answer is no, dog.
Yeah, well, and what I have said, and I will honor this, is that if the community, I mean, we've got plenty of people in the Discord now who are constantly, asking about watch alongs and things that they want to watch. Let me know if you really want to watch a PFL event. I'm down. In fact, it might be a good exercise to go back to PFL to see if our feelings about it are still the same. I mean, if they have not changed. It's been a while since we've checked in on PFL, just because we kind of felt like we got all that we needed to know about them from before. So if there is a definitive desire to watch PFL, to go check back in, I am certainly down for it. I will make it happen. I think they're still on ESPN as well as Vice, I want to say, or something like that. I'll figure out where to watch it or whatever. My point is me. If you guys want to do it, I will figure out a way to watch it. I will definitely be happy to do that for you guys. I just know that we have kind of collectively all sort of given up on PFL, and that's on them. That's what I think you really need to realize is that PFL needs to compel us. We have all of the fights of the world. We've got UFC and every other thing. And a lot of those other things are free on YouTube. That's, I go out of my way to find the free fights on YouTube a lot of the time because we want to see other promotions. We know that there is potential value in other smaller regional promotions and things like that. PFL needs to bring us back into the fold, and that is on them. So if they want to do that, then absolutely. If you guys want to do it, I will go out of my way for that. But I don't have any desire to, like, inherently already to make that happen because of the dynamics as they are currently.
Yeah, I like this comment from Hydra. He does not want to watch PFL. That's
Yeah.
great one.
Big, bold capital letters. I do not want to watch PFL. I think that says a lot of, kind of where our heads are at. But like, Hydra aside, I will make an effort if you guys want it.
Well, the thing that I want to say last before we move into the UFC, of course, is this last comment from Jeremy Hall is that Leon Edwards' brother fight on Friday. If it is, and he's headlining, that's the dude that headlined in the Africa card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um, is
Fabian.
is that their cash cow? Like, brother, they're making no money over there. Like, nobody knows who that dude is other than it's Leon Edwards' brother. Like, that's crazy.
But this is my
Unfortunate.
point. This is exactly what we've talked about. If you go back, go back on this show, even really. I mean, because we've been talking about this pretty much. This show has been going on since the Bellator buyout, essentially, or just right around there. From the time of the Bellator buyout to now, you have seen all of their major talent jump ship. You have seen many, many fighters being very vocal about wanting to jump ship and the business practices that have not been fighter friendly over there. You've been seeing all kinds of attempts to make the promotion more exciting or more enticing that have failed. You've been seeing an infusion of money from Riyadh season that is no longer there anymore. So what I'm saying is that there were all of these good faith efforts, at least in I'm being a little generous perhaps, but at least from the public perception, a lot of good faith efforts to be the promotion that they thought that they could be that have all bottomed out. So what you're left with is whatever this current incarnation is. And when you say Fabian Edwards is a headliner over there, man, they must not be doing so well. Trace the history because we've gotten here from every step of the ladder leading up to it.
Yep, it's unfortunate, but hey, that is this Friday. If everybody out there's listening, especially the people who are out there on the non-video portion, we will be watching on Friday.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, you will. I'm engaged on Friday, but we will see what happens with all of that. Either way, like I said, in the future at some point, definitely open to it.
Hell yeah.
But what I am open to right now, Chase, is talking about why we are here, which of course is UFC Fight Night. Emmett versus Vallejos. This took place at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Every fighter on this card made weight. Do you believe it?
I do believe it, guys. That did happen. You know how I know? Because MMA Orbit tweeted it, and it wasn't somebody that I distrust on Twitter. So that's all that I'm saying. I believed it, and it happened, and we are here, and we knew that we were going to get some good fights. Obviously, we headed back to the Apex. Everybody has and still will have their words about the Apex. Like, yo, get us in front of a real crowd, do this and that. It's like, guys, if you haven't found out by now, we get bangers here. Just stop wanting it other places. This is where bangers happen, is in that little fucking shed in the backyard in some desert. Like, oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I love it personally. We were talking about this on the watch along, actually, like, the differences and some people talking about, wanting the big crowds and the reaction and how hype it is and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, maybe, different strokes for different folks, I guess, and that kind of thing. And I can understand the value of the crowds and all that. But for me, I'm like, I am okay with this presentation. And if the fight quality is going to be the fight quality we got out of this card, then I'm always okay with it. Because this really, we talked about a couple of these previous weeks that have been a little bit, not necessarily up to snuff. This card, I think, brought it right back into the fold. I was very, very happy with the quality here.
Absolutely. And I actually do want to address CTE because I think it's good that we can go over it real quick. Let's find out what we each went on the card real quick.
Okay, you want to do that up front? We can do
Yeah,
that.
we're not going to rend on the names, just we'll tally up the numbers real quick and then we'll break down what we got right.
All
So,
right.
out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many fights were there? Let's double check. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fights. Okay, remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I had got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 right. Okay. And then Thinker had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right. So neck and neck on this one. Actually, very good odds from us on this. I mean, when it comes back to it, we do pick a lot of the same ones often, but when we differ, I mean, this week you'll see we had some good moments here, so this will be fun.
True. Well, yeah, I was hoping. I think that we differed on a couple that I actually got right this time. So I was like, man, maybe this is the one where I could start coming back. But damn it, Chase, you just keep being right. You're making it very hard for me here.
So for anybody out there listening, also the yearly totals, I have 67 points. Thinker is at 51. Gosh,
It's
we
not impossible. I'm telling you. I just have to be super galaxy brain 2 weeks in a row, and we're right neck and neck again. People, it's not. I'm not out of the running yet.
yeah, you're right though. I do have to kind of miss some for a hot
I
second.
know. Yeah, it's got to be one of those weeks where you take a bath, which is actually very rare. So I've never claimed to be the best predictor of fights here.
No,
Chase is much better
absolutely.
than I am.
It's always fun. Always fun.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that being said, why don't we talk about some of these fights, Chase? We got a couple of them. We got 14 of them to talk about. So let's start getting into it. Starting off with the first fight of the evening. This was Piera Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. I don't think we mentioned this, but this is a rematch between these two. I think you kind of touched on it, but not. I don't know if we actually full on said it out that this is a rematch between these two. Same outcome, I believe.
I did not know this was a rematch. Again, I always am late to figure these out because I just don't go looking off the records too much. You know, the record itself doesn't necessarily speak to me. What I've seen from you is what speaks most. And you know, if I haven't seen 12 of your fights, I don't really care who the hell they are, you know. So going into this fight, I doubted Piera Rodriguez because what I've seen from her has been very inconsistent and not necessarily the most imposing fighter. Now, what I will say is she looked fucking good in this fight. She looked really good. She looked really aggressive. She was put, you know, this is, you know, you're a good fighter when all the commentary has to say is like, oh, Sam Hughes is just trying to gas her out, man. Like, you know, when Connor was getting whooped by fucking Habib or whatever, and he's on the bottom, and you got Joe Rogan saying he's gassing him out. Like, this is the shit that happens when you are getting whooped on so bad. Like they're just praying that you're not like sleeping. Like, what are you doing out there that you're getting beat so bad that like you got to kick it up. Like you're just they're praying for the opportunity that in the third round you'll figure it out. But Sam Hughes, she impressed me in her other fights, but when you see a performance like this, it's like 11-6 at the time. Totally adds up. Like you must have done this on every one of those 6 losses because all the ones that I've seen you win, you've looked really good. And this isn't even necessarily like the most crazy opponent. Piera Rodriguez looked good, but she just had a lot of confidence, and you never were able to take that away from her. You know, Sam Hughes just didn't have it this night, and that's probably why I'm not going to be too excited for her next performance. Because what if she just doesn't have it again? You know, I'm not sitting here banking on this.
No, I mean it's exactly the same, like what I had said on the previous episode. I mean, I am a fan of Sam Hughes, but I recognize the limitations. Really, what Pierre Rodriguez did is exactly what you said. The confidence was certainly there, and the pressure was on early. I mean, that's really, I think, what made the difference at the beginning of this fight. Not crazy output from her, but powerful enough to win the round continuously. You know what I mean? Continue win the first round, win the second, and then ultimately win the third too. And she took all 3 rounds here. The takedown defense was fine from each early on. So I was like, okay, maybe that might lend to Hughes being able to have a later comeback. But really, I think what I noticed was that even down 2 rounds, Sam never really opened up in the third round. You're going through all of the trials and tribulations that she goes through in those first two. The coaching, I mean, her cornering is being very honest with her. You gotta make this your fight now. You're down 2 rounds. You have to really take control here. And I guess maybe the early striking might have been something that was deterring her, to an extent, perhaps, whatever. But like she never really got out of second gear. I think she was always kind of a step behind in this fight. And also, she might have gotten her nose broken in that second round as well. So I mean, that could have definitely played a big part later on in the fight. So
Probably played a big part later on in the fight, but it's definitely the reason earlier on in the fight that she wasn't doing necessarily the right things earlier on, which is probably what led up to her getting her nose broken. I'm not going to lie to you. Like if she would have been on her game, pushing the pressure, and actually giving Piera Rodriguez something to think about, where there's actually a moment for her to reset, like, oh, I can't just walk her down every moment I have the opportunity, we would have something. But as you see from the numbers, I mean, Sam Hughes just wasn't even able to get a takedown on her. So Piera Rodriguez made the necessary adjustments because, again, remember. I don't know if I said this on last week's pod. From what I remember, Pura Rodriguez is one of these women who came in from the atom weight, who's like coming up, to a weight class that's kind of out of her element. So I was really hoping Sam Hughes, would be able to do something here, and but 0 for 7 on takedowns is ridiculous, and then the striking is just absolutely non-existent from her. So these numbers right here are lying. I can tell you that for sure. She did not land no 91 strikes. It doesn't even sound like a lot, but I'm telling you, it was a lot less from my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the striking, when we get to the other ladies' fight on this card, I'll have a note about striking, and it'll apply to this fight too. So just put a pin on that for when we
Gotcha.
get to it. But yeah, no, I mean, this fight. What I said about this is, I mean, like Rodriguez is kind of good, not great. I mean, good enough to win this fight. Good enough when her opponent is not really giving her the adversity that you should be getting back. She has overcome other opponents who are a little bit more aggressive than Hughes was in this fight. So maybe I'm being a little bit disingenuous there, or just a little bit too harsh or overly critical, perhaps. But I mean, this, like you always say, Chase, generally they put the banger women's fight up front. This wasn't necessarily that, I don't think. This was kind of a little bit of a sleepier way to start this card. Not a terrible fight, but really kind of run of the mill, I would say. But Piera getting the job done, as I kind of suspected. I hope that Sam Hughes has the ability to come back. You maybe learn from this one, but when it's 11-7 now, I mean, it's starting to get to the point where are there new tricks to be learned?
I think me and the organization really saw the potential here with the fireworks, but I think Sam Hughes just really didn't have it in her game, unfortunately not this weekend. And the organization unfortunately should have known this, it's maybe an inconsistent fighter at heart. So
Yeah, I think inconsistent is unfortunately an apt label to put onto Sam Hughes. And that's coming from a fan. I want to see Sam Hughes do better. We've seen her do better, but right now it's hard to say that that's what's going to be the future.
you should pin this from Hydra. This didn't live up to being a women's opener, and that says something, guys. Like Jesus.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. I mean, compared to the ones that we know to be great, which we've seen plenty of them at this point, you got to come out and start strong. Because the other thing with that is just that, like, that is the opportunity that they're giving to women's fighters to change the perception of you as a fighter, change the perception of women's MMA in general. We've seen that. We've now applied that to several women's fights, and it's like that's where you see value for an otherwise somewhat skeptical fan base sometimes. So go out and be that, and you can be the person that they say, oh, well, I might not want to watch every women's fight, but I definitely have to tune in for Piera Rodriguez. It's like we're going to talk about a woman who did that later on in this card potentially.
I had just thought about it. It's if you think it is really big brain to put the women first, because how can you have a piss break if there's nothing you haven't started yet? You can't break between something that hasn't started yet. So you have to watch the first fight. Therefore, there is a piss break to be had, kind of deal. So
I
genius.
guess you could be like taking longer to prepare your lunch or something.
True. Yeah, I guess. Oh well.
Either
Either
way,
way.
make people watch is really what the answer is there. It's like you make them upset that they were taking too long to make their lunch.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's that one.
CTE. That was no Jamie Lynn Horth opener.
And
100%.
bingo. And see, you're making the point exactly right there. Jamie Lynn Horth, a person who took that opportunity, and now the striking is there. I definitely got to tune in for her.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
So there you go. All right. Well, moving on to this next one here. This, of course, is Luan Lacerda versus Hetcher Sosa. Hetcher won this fight, but I was pretty impressed with Lacerda in this thing, honestly. I thought that this was a very close fight. Hetcher kind of living up to what we said about him on the previous podcast to an extent, still doing enough to get the job done here. Definitely not taking that away from him, but I'm going to need a little bit more out of Hetcher Sosa to become like a full-on fan, I think.
I don't know if I am just not in the same communities, or maybe we just see things differently, because I don't think this is a fight where you were supposed to leave thinking Lacerda impressed you. And because not in a way that he didn't perform, but we were supposed to be looking at Hetcher Sosa like, damn, he fucking did it, bro. He's the fucking guy. He came in here and did it. But unfortunately, a guy that has never he probably has one TKO, I think is actually what it is. He has one TKO in Luan Lacerda. Hetcher Sosa was taking a lot of big strikes from this dude. He was getting punched heavy by this dude for a little bit of it. Hetcher Sosa really showed his toughness, and I think that's really what came down to it. Is he is a very tough fighter, not necessarily the most skilled, not necessarily the most willing to do whatever, but he came in here and he won a fight again, against somebody I think they were really hoping he'd have an impressive performance against. But I didn't necessarily think he was going to blow me out the water once he got into the UFC, because with the circumstances of the Contender Series, I don't think we saw the full picture of him yet, and I think this is more or less what we should be getting. We're getting a really tough fighter. We're not getting the most technical. We're not getting the most skilled. We're getting a guy who will leave his chin up and will grapple with people who probably are better grapplers than them, and get beat on the feet by people who are grapplers. You know, he didn't get beat on the feet per se, but there were moments early where he was really taking some heavy damage, and again, showed his toughness. And I think that's really all he needed to show was like, yeah, I do belong here kind of deal. So this was fine.
Fair enough. I mean, I think that that can lend itself to why I was impressed by Lacerda. I mean, I think that he had Sosa backing up early in this fight. It wasn't until Sosa put the forward pressure on, midway through this thing that the tables kind of turned a little bit. That knee in round one for Lacerda might have broken Sosa's nose too, another nose break potentially. So, if you fought through all of that, then definitely the toughness is on display there. But, it gives a better impression for potentially a little bit of a lesser fighter. I mean, like Lacerda is certainly not a household name in the sport. Sosa coming in with the storyline and everything kind of has a little bit more of an aura or a hype to him than Lacerda would. But I mean, you're right though. This was turned out to be a lot of grit on both sides. It was a great fight. I mean, I did enjoy
Mhm.
this fight a lot. But like, you wanted to kind of see maybe more of a coming out party for Sosa than what this ended up being. Yeah, even if it was a good fight, like the fact that it was such a competitive fight sort of gives me a little bit of a pause as to like what we're going to be seeing out of him in the future. Like, if you're already having problems at this level of opponent, then you got a lot coming your way later on down the road.
Yeah, I mean, and at 15-1, I mean, for example, I mean, you look at the person in the main event, Kevin Vallejos. You know, he's 17-1, but he's faced UFC competition up until this point. If this guy is struggling with last Lacerda kind of deal, and not necessarily struggling, he got by him 30-27, but the moments that Lacerda had, you would think a much more of a polished fighter, a much more aggressive fighter, a much more powerful striker, anything like that, is going to have those same opportunities on Sosa. So, and he's not necessarily the youngest guy. I mean, it seems like this is probably more or less the finished product. I mean, I could be wrong. We could see a really big jump in his game, but it's going to take a lot of work, and he's going to have to face people of a higher caliber. To beat the best, you got to be the best. You got to beat the best. Excuse me. And
Sure.
Lacerda's not necessarily that. So Sosa, I mean, I would just like you to see a harder opponent, and I don't know. I'm kind of getting, and this is, I don't know. I would just like to see him get another opponent pretty quick, actually. But
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. And like every opponent's going to give you a new set of data to work with
yeah,
thereafter. So we've seen that he's tough for sure out of this fight. Now, one thing I will mention here, because it's going to be a note coming up for a couple of these and then yet another crash out on the watch along. You talked about the scorecards here. Chase, you've keyed me in on things throughout the history of this show that I otherwise may not have been keyed into. But one of the things that I have been keying into more and more is when the fight goes the way that it should go, still recognizing when there are scorecards that I think are ridiculous. And we're definitely going to talk about a couple of those coming up. Now, I'm not saying that that is this here. I do think that that 30-27 is incorrect though. But two judges did go that way. So I mean, I got to maybe be a little bit tempered in my response here. The dude hit him with the high knee in round one and potentially broke his nose with that. And that was the biggest moment of round one when everything else was kind of even. Seems a little bit off to me. This is not the I'm saying this is not the worst example of this on this card, but I have been more in tune with this now lately, and we are certainly going to talk about that coming up. So I'm just want to plant the seed now because this has been a continuing crash out that I've been on.
it's just absolutely fascinating that you could watch so many, and there's always just one that makes you think like, what the fuck were you doing, dude? Like, did you just take the day off? Like, so we will definitely talk about it later. But yeah, the question is, do judges watch every single round? Is a serious question at this point.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and I will thoroughly admit that I was one of the people that if the fight went the right way, you just kind of move on. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, that judge was a little wonky, but whatever. But it's like, as you get deeper into it and knowing, and another good point that you make, Chase, knowing how much is on the line in these fights beyond just for the fighter. There are billions, literal billions with a B, dollars being bet on all of these fights. One card from the UFC generates literal billions of dollars in betting. So, I mean, now with those kinds of things in place here, it really does put into perspective just how important every single judge is to all of these. And when these fights are close, we have a bunch of close fights on this card. When they are close like this, one judge can be the decision maker that changes millions of dollars and an entire trajectory of a fighter's career.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
So
it's crazy. So I'm excited to talk about the other ones. I'm glad you're picking up on it because genuinely, what the fuck do we be watching different shit than these judges sometimes. So
for sure, absolutely, and that's another reason why I always make it a priority to rewatch all of these fights so that I come in with a full understanding of all of these fights 100%. I watch it the first time, get the initial view out of the way, but then also have that second deeper dive watch where I'm looking for the details because of exactly what we're talking about. The consistency is not there.
absolutely. And shout out Lachlan for
Oh,
sure.
hell yeah. Shout out Lachlan. Always, bro. Appreciate you, man. All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight here. This is, of course, Bia Mesquita versus Montserrat Rendon. This was such a breath of fresh air, as far as like seeing this from a female fighter in general, but B, and what the real discussion was on the watch along, what an absolute masterclass performance. This was a literal flawless victory for Bia Mesquita. I mean, and the numbers will show that. I mean, if you are watching us right now and with the video component, you will see that Montserrat Rendon has a literal goose egg all the way down her side of the aisle. I mean, every single stat that is shown right here is a 0. I mean, this really speaks to what Bia Mesquita was able to accomplish in this fight. She looked amazing in this fight.
I think she did as well. Obviously, it was a very quick one. She walked in. Really didn't even throw the most illustrious combination. I mean, she hit Rendon and she kind of fell over. She started going wobbly and tripped, and it was kind of a weird sequence that got to the mat. But then Mosquito got on top, and she's in full mount. And then, for a lot of it only lasted 2 minutes. But knowing what we know, when she gets you to the ground, I mean, it's submission right away. So I'm sitting here saying, just go ahead and get it over with. Just sub her. You're in full mount. Figure it out. Get something. Call it. But she actually was doing a good job of showcasing a little ground and pound. And I was watching it like, we don't need to see this. You're already in the most dominant position. Get the submission. But she didn't not go for the submission. She did her ground and pound and then waited for Rendon to turn over. And then that's when she went for the submission. So I give her credit. She didn't go for an arm triangle or something. She didn't do something to where it's just going to stall and do nothing. No, she was doing ground and pound, and if you weren't going to turn over to get the submission, she was just going to TKO you right there. So I actually give her a lot of props. She did more of the right thing that I was going to give her props for. I didn't think that there was a plan here, but she definitely had a plan. The fight got exactly to where she needed it to be. The thing that I would say that is important, it's not that she got the fight to where the fight needed to be. The fight happened to get to where she needed it to be, and then she was still able to capitalize. Things happen in a fight. They don't always go your way. Sometimes you throw a kick and you end up on the ground. In this case, Rendon got tripped up, punched, fell over. Now she's fully mounted, and Mosquito, she did all the textbook moves to finish the fight. You can't really ask for any more. You've seen people, they get fucking full mount and we're here for the rest of the round, but Mosquito got it over with. At bantamweight, I love to see women finishers, especially when it comes to bantamweight, because we don't have that many women that are very good here. So shout out her, Brazil. We are back on top, 7-0.
I mean, really, all the points clicking on that with her, for sure. And this is where I wanted to bring up the note that I had referenced in the first fight. On the watch along, CTE, I believe it was in the chat, had mentioned that Mesquita's team only drills striking aside from fight camps, basically. Like if she's in camp, that's when she'll do some takedowns and things like that. But outside of camp, she is drilling her striking pretty much exclusively, it would seem, is at least the way I understood what he was saying. This is the dividends that you see out of that. Bia Mesquita comes in with a ridiculously credentialed grappling pedigree. Her resume is over the top with grappling accolades. This is what you need to do for that type of a fighter. you drill them with striking to the point where they are now a season. I mean, she still, I'm sure, got some ways to go with her striking, but at least seasoned enough to make this type of performance happen. The grappling is there. That's always going to be there. That's second nature. She wakes up and grapples. It's not a problem for her to get into that mindset, to switch over. The striking is really where it needs to be the thing to even her out, because we've seen many women who are really good in the grappling department, and then they lack in the striking department. Might talk about another one of those potentially coming up on the card here, where you can already see the problems coming from a mile away if they get into situations that they can't handle on the feet. And every fight starts on the feet. So you really need to have a well-rounded skill set. You need to mix the martial arts to be a mixed martial artist. Bia Mesquita's team is doing it correctly, and you're seeing the results in a fight like this.
I think what you should just take away from this is you look at Bia Mosquito, one of the grappling god, or the goddess, whatever you want to call her, the grappling goat, something like that.
The lady goat.
There you go. She is another example of everybody, or the example of somebody who reaches the pinnacle of grappling. And what is next? Mixed martial arts. So when somebody like this, the lady goat, people are going to be looking up to her in the grappling sense. You think of like the Gracies and shit like that. All these great grappling people that moved over to mixed martial arts. It's only going to make more people grow up wanting to be inspired by that portion of their career. When you look at Mosquito, yes, she had the grappling stuff, but like people, her students, people that look to her as inspiration, they now are going to see her in a mixed martial arts field, and that's going to create more students that want to train mixed martial arts. And I think this is just a great example of somebody who had a whole career doing something, but then now she's going to represent the mixed martial arts group. And I think this is just only great. She's bringing a community to us. And we often alienate each other, obviously the kickboxers and the boxers, the BJJ guys, but hopefully we're able to get some more inspiration for the mixed martial artists out there. I shout out Mosquito in this.
Absolutely. I mean, everything she's doing inside the cage, as far as her fighting goes, is certainly inspirational, and she's good on the mic as well. I mean, her English is really good, and she's very, I'd say, graceful in the way that she presents herself. She reminds me a little bit of Valentina on the microphone, to be perfectly honest. The way that she presents herself, I think that she is an absolutely great role model right now. As far as everything I know about her, which is, admittedly not a ton, but enough to know that she is a great fighter, and raising the ranks. I mean, it's like you said, Chase. I mean, this is bantamweight for women. This is the exact division where a couple of fights will get you into the title conversation very quickly. And the way that she is doing it here, she is going to be there probably next fight, I would say. I mean, like maybe one, maybe two more to get her legitimately in the conversation. I think it's as quick as that. And when you are carrying yourself like a champion, then you are automatically making people believe fight over fight.
Yeah, honestly, next for her is probably Ketlin Vieira. I mean, you can't even like that's just who the next person in line is. So I would love to see it. I'm trying to think if you want to do something crazy. No, I like the Ketlin thing because she's got a lot of hype to her. She's obviously going to just keep running through people if we don't give her somebody that she may not run through. So I like the Vieira pick.
I think it's great. Yeah, I mean, and look, again, it's women's bantamweight. This is where the talent is unfortunately lacking. So shoot the talent up. If there was ever an appropriate hot shotting, that I mean, you're making it happen. So I don't even really consider it a hot shotting. But if there was ever anybody who deserves to be jumping the line a little bit, I mean, give Mosquito the leg up. I mean, she's earning it fight over fight. We see it anytime. We say it all the time. Anytime that there is a woman finishing her fights, she's instantly standing out. Bantamweight is a light division when it comes to talent. This is all clicking very well for Mosquito right now. Continue doing what you're doing, and that conversation gets a lot easier to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was definitely a fun performance, and I'm just really glad that she came out here and showcased her dominance. Especially when you're in the first couple fights in the UFC. If you want to showcase that you are eligible to get a title shot, I mean, you got to just start walking through people. So this was good.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, I must stress the literal zeros just going down
Yeah,
the line for Montserrat Rendon on this. Yeah, Bia Mesquita making that happen. So big ups to her.
hell yeah.
All right. Well, then that brings us to the next fight of the evening, which was Brad Tavares versus Eric Anders. Now, what I want to start off by saying in this fight is this was another fight that had some irregular betting activities attached to it that unfortunately proved to be correct yet again. So I'm getting to the point where I'm like, when the Isaac Dolgarian situation happened, I covered that pretty extensively. I got a video out about it the next day. I put the clip out when we were watching and finding out about it in real time. It seemed like an event, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not trying to big myself up for covering it. I'm saying that it was more of like a touch point where it's like, man, we had the James Krause incident a couple of years ago. This is happening again. This is crazy. Now we have had this fight. We have had the Michael Johnson fight twice where there have been irregularities. Is it just getting to the point where this is becoming commonplace, Chase?
Yes, I mean, in the social media era, anybody can say anything, whether it be true or not, and I think it's going to raise eyebrows whether the even if it's coincidentally true, like the one with Michael Johnson,
Right.
even if it's coincidentally true, I don't think you have any reason to believe that they are until you see further information,
But
thrown
that
at you.
but that's the thing though, is that the further information is the actual betting lines. And that's what we definitely saw in this fight.
The way that I look at it personally is when I see a fight that has something questionable going on, I just look at it as like I can't bet on it because they're one way or another I'm going to get screwed over. If they are just willingly going to give 30-27s when you know damn well that person lost and one round and the second round was close, like kind of deal, like just I'm just not going to put my fucking money in that shit. Like when you go to last week with Bruno Fajeda when he was looking jacked, I was like, this dude might be on something. Let me not put my money into it because let him win against RoboCop and then they give him a suspension later and then they don't give me my fucking money back. Not happening, brother. Not happening. No. Done.
Well, I mean, fair enough, but that did not happen. And what we have been seeing happen is that these predictions have been correct. And again, I'm not going, I mean, the Michael Johnson one from last week or, the weeks before, whatever, that's a little bit of an extenuating oddness with that one specifically. But what we're going off of on this is literally seeing a dramatic shift in the line. Anders becoming a more of a favorite over here and then ending up winning the fight. Now, granted, this fight, there was nothing noticeable to me that would have signaled that there was a fix on this fight. Like actually a pretty good scrap between these two. Now, both of them sort of at a little bit of a later stage of their career, not necessarily the highest level guys to begin with. So, you got to keep it in perspective. But that being said, I thought that overall this was a pretty even matchup. This is kind of like, went the way that it was supposed to go. Had I not known about there being any allegations of irregularity, I would not have suspected it with this fight. So I don't know. All I'm saying is that, if we're seeing this, because that came out, I believe, the day before the fights, it was posted in the Discord. That's another one. Shout out to your guy Finn's Bet, who was the guy who I saw talking about that. But I mean, it comes out, this happens, fight goes the way that it was supposed to go as far as the people who were betting based on the irregularity. It just seems like we're now playing whack-a-mole and there are way too many moles to whack, so to speak.
Yeah, I hear you. It is unfortunate, but the thing with it, you can't really. It's a decision call. I mean, I know that the judges definitely could be at play somehow, some way, if that's the way that you want to lean. But if someone gets finished and it looks a little questionable, obviously we will talk about one later. But like getting finished is one thing. Going to decision with somebody and your bet was to win by decision. I mean, that's a hard move to pull, like you're riding a lot right there, especially for a guy who got knocked down in the fight, like
Well, and
eh,
that's, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But this is where it starts to open the floodgates for all kinds of different thinkings about it. You brought up, could the judges be involved? Or at least myself, at least I've always really tried to stay away from that, because if there are compromised judges, then everything is off the table as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like that brings everything into a whole new world with that.
we should get some tinfoil hats and then we should have our moment where we get to do that because I think it is very valid. And unfortunately, I love to be the person that would to believe that, like, yeah, obviously the refs for the organization are inside the building with the organization. Like, yeah, they're fucking gonna just be walk by and tell them, like, yeah, pick that guy. Like, it's as easy as just doing shit like that. But you would love to believe, like, no, it's a commission, it's commission based. These guys have no affiliation with them. But like we talked about with the drug testing people, it's like, bro, they're literally hired by the UFC. Like, it's just It's just the way of the world right
I
now, you
mean,
know?
and we talk often about the mafioso nature of the business. I mean, this doesn't get much more mobbed up than that. But well, you're right, Chase. We're gonna two of us will both construct our little tinfoil hats. You can do a tricone if you want to. I know you've
Yes.
been interested in one of those. But we'll save the further conspiracy stuff for another time. I just had to mention it on this one because, as I said, I used to try to cover these pretty extensively, but we've gotten to the point where it's like I can't. I'm having trouble keeping up with it all.
Yeah, I definitely I can see it. I can see it, but what I will say, hang your hat on the fact that this was a pretty damn good fight,
It
you know?
was absolutely, and that's the first note that I had about it. Another really good scrap in this card for these guys. I mean, I'll kind of sell the end a little bit here, but Eric Anders won this fight and then retired. I thought that was a really, that's one of those heartwarming moments in the sport. Eric Anders, he was never going to be a champion necessarily, but he is a good, solid guy. He's actually someone that I follow, he's big on LinkedIn for whatever reason. He posts a lot on there. So I see the stuff that he posts. Family man, one of the good guys of the sport, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So nice to see someone like that go out on a win and go out on a solid win based on what happened in this fight. I mean, this was a tough competition between these two.
I was watching this fight and I was asking myself, why did they match these two up? Like, I'm watching the performance and it's like these are more than qualified to go up against a good prospect or something. Like, it just seems like a waste just to have them face each other because like this performance from Eric Anders, it's like, bro, you could have went up against Gautier or something and probably would have done some good shit, you know? Like, but we got a Brad Tavares performance and decision was very likely. It's Brad Tavares, guys. This guy is a journeyman, and not by the fact that he's been in the organization for a while, but he takes journeys inside the cage too. He's like walked around that shit like 5,000 miles. But the point is, Eric Anders impressed me a lot here because he again, he's not anybody that you should be on, like he's not on your radar. He's a guy that literally just retired. So at the end of his career, literally the last performance that I saw from him, I mean, he went out there and tried to fight. He didn't throw in a performance. He didn't come out here and lose. He probably put on one of the best performances I've seen from him out of the 3 or 4 performances that I've seen. And against Brad Tavares, who's a really tough fighter, who's a really skilled fighter, a fighter who doesn't listen to his fucking coach at all, and it happens to be like one of the best coaches. I'm told. This one is crazy because it. Anyway, Eric Anders, good performance. I just I don't know. Brad Tavares was getting his ass whooped. Really, is honestly what it came down to be. I don't remember him winning a round per se, but he did get a knockdown in the first. So maybe that's the round that the judges would have gave him. But 30-27 for Eric Anders.
Oh well,
Yeesh.
yeah, no, I mean I hadn't said it up until this point, but we had a lot of fights on this card that were 1-1 going into the third. It was Anders who was almost finished Tavares in the first, and
Mhm.
then Tavares dropped Anders in the second. So yeah, I mean there's a couple of times on this card where it really is like neck and neck, which is great. I mean, if it's going to go to decision, you want it to be a competitive fight to the point that it warrants that.
Right.
So I think this really fits the bill. Yeah, it's like both these guys, as you said, these are kind of like big, sort of bulky, lumbering middleweights. So, it wasn't necessarily going to be like, a crazy fireworks display of a fight throughout, but it was solid efforts on both sides. What I would suspect too is probably because Anders is I would think on the end of his contract, which is why he was able to retire so gracefully. Tavares probably closer to that. I would say that's probably why they matched them up. Just kind of, get these fights out of the way so that they can kind of usher them out quietly is what I would suspect. I don't know about Tavares. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for as to where he ends up with after all this. Because now 21-13. I mean, it's one of those kind of records. You know what I mean? But that being said, for what this was, I thought that this was really decent work on both sides. I mean, good rally for Tavares in that second round after nearly getting finished in the first, and good work all the way through. These guys were going for it until the end, so good deal. I mean, this is the exact kind of fight you want to see out of two guys at the stage of their career that these both are at.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't mind the retirement speech. It was cool. I mean, kind of the way you want to go out, just like, all right, see you guys, appreciate you, and then just head off into the sunset. Not really make a big song and fucking dance, not retire 3 or 4 fucking times. if he's done, he's done. That's shout out to his LinkedIn career because hopefully he's going to find himself a new one soon.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty for him out there. He's the guy that I always liked, so I'm happy that that went that way too. And I mean, basically in this fight, really nice active control throughout it, nice clinch work, good controlled level changes for him. This was a fight that he deserved to win based on the things that he did in it, and that I think is very rewarding in retirement as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So good deal. Yeah, shout out to Eric Anders, man. Great career in general. They were talking about that. I didn't realize, I mean, I'm sure that I could have remembered if I really put thought to it, but this is a guy that's been around so long that he had a main event against Lyoto Machida. You know what I mean? So it's like this is it's a long career for Eric Anders. It's a good time in the promotion and a solid guy to boot. So congratulations on a career well spent in the UFC.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, next up on the card here is Balaji Oki versus Manuel Sosa. This was this was a crazy one, man. These guys were really putting it out there. Yet another good fight on a good card. Did not go the way that I thought that it was going to go, but that is because Manuel Sosa was able to pull a victory out after overcoming a little bit of his own adversity. Now, granted, he had the majority of the damage in this fight, so I'm not trying to say it was crazy, insurmountable adversity. He was able to overcome everything that Oki was throwing at him. But that being said, Oki, I think, navigated this fight well until he was unable to, and that's all off of what Manuel Sosa was able to accomplish himself.
There's a couple different things. One, I want to say that I knew Balaji Oki was very tough, but the toughness that he showed in this fight, I mean, listen, to make it to the point up until the finish, brother, this dude is good. Because if you remember, in the first round, he got laid out flat on his face.
Sure
And
did.
for the fact that he was able to actually get back to his feet, not only get back to his feet, but actually implement a good game plan. He actually looked really good. He knew not to strike with him. He got right to the clinch, blasted elbows, blasted knees. He was holding up against the cage. He was doing a lot of work, which is unfortunately probably why he gassed a little early because that's not his game. His game is striking power, but like he looked really good. Like when it came to dude, he must have been training with some crazy Muay Thai guys because these knees were fucking killing. But the thing that I would say, and I actually think I said this about Manuel in the Contender Series, he genuinely is a Terminator. Like he has no fucking care for anything. You smash him with knees to the stomach, it's as if he's never been hit before. And Balaji Oki had moments where the striking seemed to be landing, but it was more or less like Manuel just like, all right, here's your time. Like get yours, and then now I'm gonna fuck you up. It was great. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you're nailing all the points. The one thing I wanted to touch on was exactly what you said. The fight IQ from Oki after getting dropped, I thought was very good. The navigation to stay in the fight, regaining control. There was a really nice move where he on the ground reversed to get himself in a dominant position. I was like, all good there. But you are so right about the Sosa dude. I mean, like Sosa tanking the shots really was a regen almost. It was like, I'm going to go through round two. Dominic Cruz was saying it, emphatically. Where did all of this extra energy come from? It's like this guy took this time. I mean, there was an eye poke that gave him a little bit of regen time, whatever. Come on, guys. We've seen plenty of people have exactly that same situation and not come back looking this good. But this dude, Sosa, the cardio there and then the power on top of it, this dude's power shots look like they could kill a man. I mean, like this guy is so powerful when he swings. It's kind of mind boggling to think anybody could take those shots.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. It was the beginning of the second round, and I said, okay, Manuel's slowing down a little bit. He's slowing down, but then apparently he has the greatest second wind ever. The only thing that I could think was similar was Melissa Croden. And, there's something to be said that a lot of people, Emmanuel Sosa has this image, he has the look and the appearance that a lot of people would question if he has ever been on some sort of supplements or EPOs. Now, when you see somebody who's maybe looking a little sluggish coming out of round two, and then they end the third round with a fucking KO, I mean, it is a little questionable about what this dude's on. Where have you been, But for fuck's sake, I don't care. Let him take it. This dude, he can take whatever the fuck he wants if he comes out here and does this, dude. I mean, genuinely, I think it's such a special type of performance to just walk through any shots. And it's not just any shot. Oki, this dude fucking cracks. And it's not just his punches. This is elbows, this is knees. He's Oki gave him a run for his money. Like out of all the debuts, like, this is a hard debut matchup. You know, we talk about Amosov with Neil Magny. I mean, this ain't that. I mean, Neil Magny. Listen, this ain't that. But Belagioki is a really tough fucking customer, and this dude not only just broke him down with striking only, but then he fucking finished him in probably, and I'm saying this early, but just because of like the image, you know, he waves like, what, do you have something, grabs his hand and then just sleeps him. And this might be up there for knockout of the year because the way that he falls, lifeless, like there's just nothing left of him. He's just completely prone, and you really hear like the silence. Like you're just like, oh, fuck, brother. Like I know you saw my short. I was having a really fucking fun time with this fight, but then when you see the KO, I mean, there's really nothing left to say. I mean, he definitely fucking flatlined, bro. Like
For
Jesus.
sure. No, absolutely. And that's no more apparent than that third round because exactly like what you're saying about Oki being a dude, you know, he does tend to gas a little bit towards the end of fights naturally. So it's like that part is okay. But in this fight, off of all of what he had been through in that first round, a little bit in that second round, you could see him really trying to stay in this thing. There was that one flurry that he had where, you know, they were going backwards. I think that Oki was kind of backing him up and he was just swinging a combo and he was landing the combo back, going back. You're like, that's the determination that he really is digging deep for. And then to see it end the way that it did, it was just like, bro, you know, sometimes you're just powerless to stop the train, you know. It's that's really seems to be the case here. Now, granted, like you said, Manuel Sosa might have to be on back watch over here. You know, if we're going to be seeing the acne popping up, we gotta keep our eyes open for that potential supplement dealy there. But otherwise, either way, I mean, like based on what we have seen now, if something happens later on, we'll you know make a mental note of it here. But based on this fight, really impressive. I did want to at least make a mention of is the fact that I did think that Sosa gets a little reckless with his big swings sometimes. I mean, like he is so powerful that he's just like haymakering shots all over the place, and it's like, bro, you know, you could get countered that way, but I don't know anybody that's going to want to stand in the pocket to navigate those shots to hopefully get the counter shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I listen, I was thinking the same thing. Like it didn't look the best, but I mean, if you can't knock him out, I mean, he's just gonna do whatever the fuck he wants, you know? I mean, and if you can't get him down, I mean, I think Oki got him down once, it looks like, but I don't necessarily remember this. But uh this guy, Manuel Sosa, I'm a really big fan, guys. This performance here, I that knockout was just crazy, man. I don't know if I've seen anybody have a handshake knockout. You know, he shook his hand and said, "I'm knocking you out, dude," and he
he,
did.
he literally led him to the knockout. You know,
Yeah,
let me take your hand and draw you into this knockout you're going to be encountering.
and we talk about instincts all the time, but like, bro, you have a guy who every time he's hitting him, his legs are just like not under him. He's going all the way across the cage. So the wherewithal to say, if I grab his hand, what the fuck's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do when I grab his hand? He ain't got no energy to put his hand up. So if I grab it and yank him towards me and then slump him, what's he gonna do? You know? And then evidently nothing. Evidently not a goddamn thing. So Jesus Christ, what a fucking performance.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I don't know what Manuel Sosa's nickname is currently, but I think I'm going to just start calling him the T1000.
There you go. Another, I saw the sub attempt one. I actually want to go back to that moment because it was pretty cool from Belagioki. This is after he had gotten dropped on his face and he had been
Yes,
fighting
yeah.
back. Manuel Sosa goes for the Kimura. Belagioki is able to like stand up from this position and then just fucking throws him over his fucking shoulder and then he's on top. And it was actually pretty, it was a really good, you know, obviously you had just been knocked down, you are losing, but now you're in fucking top control. It's like, now things are looking a little different. He got a little ground and pound, and it was looking good. But Manuel Sosa, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, this guy. What can you
Yeah.
say?
No,
So
and you're exactly right. I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, that does go to what I was talking about with the fight IQ stuff from Oki. I mean, even once he was in that standing position, Sosa still had the Kimura grip on. He could still have technically finished that Kimura even from a standing position, but Oki was able to navigate that. And that's it's like there are certain fights that with as amazing as this one ended up being, as far as like how the knockout was and all of that, I do kind of have sympathy for Oki because it's like you know he was battling through, and that if he had won this fight, it would have been like damn through the fire and the flames he won that shit. But it was not meant to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. When I'm watching this, because like again, for anybody out there, I had bet Manuel to win by decision. So when you see somebody, because like Oki's tough, and I know that, but when you see him getting the shit beat out of him, you're like, please, dude, please fucking make it. Show me you are the toughest dude I have ever seen in my life. And granted, he probably still is. Even after all of this had happened. I mean, I'm
Right.
not gonna say Oki is not tough. This dude, the only reason he went to sleep is because he literally had, the energy bar, stamina 0. Like, that's all that it was, you're more vulnerable when the stamina bar's depleted, so
Yeah, well, and also when your opponent somehow gets the power pellet midway through the fight and just regens all his cardio, which is
yeah.
see, I'm so really impressed me with that. Honestly, even more so than the power. Personally, I know that the power is amazing, but the fact that he was able to do it that late in the fight, I'm really in awe of that. If he's able to continue doing that, if Oki is a person he could do it against, I'm definitely interested. Lightweight, there's plenty of people that he could be having really good fights with. That he's going to have to show the exact same level of regen ability.
If anybody out there has ever played a PvP mode where you can duel each other, this is the type of fight where you're battling your friend and he pops a health potion in the middle, and it's like, what the fuck? I thought we were actually having a fight here. It's like, well, Manuel Sosa just popped the chug jug and he just fucking went off. So
I'm telling you, man, he stood on the Mega Man platform.
yeah,
Good
had a
deal.
mushroom.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So, yeah, shout out to Manuel Sosa, the T1000. As far as I'm concerned, you're definitely right. The guy is a little mini Terminator.
Yep, I love it.
All right. Well, another great performance over here, one I was very happy about. This is Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. I mean, Smith really, doing what I was hoping was what he was capable of. I think that you showed a lot of the things that led you to believe that he would be able to get this done. Like early on in the fight, like some of the stickiness that he has certainly on display. But Elijah Smith really, I think it really comes down to a lot of the Gilbert Smith influence. You've got a seasoned UFC alum in Elijah Smith's father and Gilbert Smith as his coach. You're getting a lot of really high level coaching out of that, and any time that I hear Gilbert Smith in the corner, I'm always like, he really is guiding Elijah in a way that is very effective for what Elijah is naturally good at, and I think the two of those go very well together.
I think we actually did a really good job on predicting this fight because we both had different viewpoints of what we thought could happen. And I think both of them actually began to happen. And then one of us obviously had to win. And I think that is where your pick came into play because my initial thought was Su Young Yu is going to use his experience. He's going to get him down. He's going to hold him down. What is Elijah Smith going to do off his back? And for the first round, we saw a lot of that. We saw some good stuff. Elijah Smith landed that big knee, but he was too close. He got more thigh to the chin. Su Young just grabbed the leg, took him right down, held him down. I was very happy at that point. The dude landed 3 significant strikes and damn near in 2 fucking rounds. Jesus fucking Christ, Su Young. But anyway, held him down the whole first round. I was very confident. Boom, this is going to be every round. What I did overlook, and Elijah Smith is not necessarily the most crafty. He's not the most savvy, grappler that we have because Su Young Yu did have his opportunities. But when the round started and we got back to the feet, Elijah Smith does have very, very fast hands. And this is one thing that I think you pointed out. Elijah Swift Smith, he does have that shot that can do something. And it wasn't necessarily the cleanest shot. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was a young prospect, getting the older prospect, so to speak, out of there. He landed a shot. It dropped Su Young Yu. And then we get to the grappling. And then Elijah Smith surprisingly able to submit the guy who's the grappler. It was close, and Su Young Yu was battling. It was more, he got the one arm down, but Elijah Smith kept, he was very adamant that he was going to get that submission, and Su Young Yu had no choice but to tap. Really, I mean, and not to say that there was early. We'll talk about later with some taps, but this one right here. I mean, he was trying to fight through it, and even when he got the hand, you could tell, like, bro, he was squeezing the life out of him. Like, I only got 2 hands, man. I can't,
Of
So
course.
shout out Elijah Smith. This was a really good performance, I thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, just to touch on the points, I mean, he did not, Su Young Yu did not land a lot of strikes, but 4 takedowns in 5 minutes for Su Young Yu in that first round. So, I mean, big knee aside, it was, exactly the game plan that you would have expected out of him. So, damage versus control could have gone either way based on how these judges look at that, the rounds that they're judging. But round two starts, and yeah, Smith is just locked in. That goes off of the cornering that I was talking about. I think you're underselling this finishing sequence a little bit here. He starts to get the striking off. The sequence that actually finished it was really nice if you talk it through. So he lands 2 shots up top. He defends a takedown. Then he does this like kind of sidestep move to get around the follow up attempt, and that's when the uppercut lands, and that's the one that dropped you at that point. He then evades the up kicks. I know, yes, I know. He evades the up kicks, takes Hughes back, he rolls him into the RNC, and that's when he gets that tap. I mean, like if you break it down like point by point, this is a really like fight IQ wise, very solid navigation of everything that was in that sequence, all on Elijah Smith's side, and almost to the point where I think that you kind of couldn't keep up with the details because I mean you get rocked like that, you have split seconds to be able to get yourself back to the mindset of being having the wherewithal to say, okay, oh, now I'm in this position, now I'm doing this. It's like Elijah Smith, that's where the Swift name comes from. Like you said, the speed is there, so get the drop, do this, bing bang boom. He's right there, getting the submission at that point. I thought that this was really fantastic work at that point.
What I will say, and I think this is nothing personal against Elijah Smith. If he was in any other division but bantamweight, I would be thinking there's probably other prospects that are going to be the new generation, of course. But bantamweight is wide open for new people to just step in. Peyton Talbot is ranked, and he just lost 2 fights ago. So what can you say? You can do whatever the fuck you want at bantamweight, and they'll just let you. So go in here, keep winning. Su Young Yu was decently touted as a prospect, of course. I thought he was going to win this one. So finishing him, of course, your next opponent should probably be ranked, but you got to understand Elijah Smith is still very, very young. You can't throw him up there too far yet. What I would say is throw him an opportunity where there's a loss that potentially wouldn't be so bad. Give him an opportunity that he goes 3 rounds with somebody who's very experienced, and if he gets a split decision win, great. And if he loses, it's not the worst thing in the world because it's not like he's getting finished or anything. But I think the age, he's going to have to grow a lot. It's unfortunate when we have such young prospects who have such little experiences. Like, if they keep winning, we have to keep throwing them higher. But once they do, and we know just how high they can get, it's really hard for them to fall back and then continue forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that if there is a loss to be had, this would be a decent stage of the game for it to happen. We've seen other fighters who have that exact situation go on to have, tremendous careers thereafter. So that would be fine. But as of right now, I mean, Elijah Smith, let those challenges come as they will. I think in your basic point, you're kind of saying don't hotshot the guy, and I would agree with that. I think that there's no need to hotshot Elijah Smith. He's naturally developing very well. So keep setting him up with good quality fights, incrementally raise that talent level, and he will rise to the occasion. I think that that's what we've seen so far. The only thing I'm worried about right now, Chase, is the fact that Elijah Smith gets a slam knockout of a Japanese fighter. He gets a rear naked choke submission of a Korean fighter. Are we in jeopardy of having Elijah Smith have a reputation akin to Drew Dober?
It is possible, but I think it's no. He fought a Mexican guy just a couple fights ago, Vince Morales, I think. So I would say no in the sense that it's only two. But if he gets a Chinese guy next, I mean, it's definitely up for debate.
I mean, he's taking out country after country of that region of the world. I hate to think that that could be the case, but either way, I do like the cool victory dance that he did, and I very much appreciated the victory cigars. That's a new one to me. I don't think I'd ever seen victory cigars in the cage before. Granted, they did not like them, but I thought it was neat. All these guys posing with their cigars.
Well, I thought it was neat, but then the fact that they do not light them. I mean, I was like, well, it's kind of a stupid thing. You knew you couldn't light them. Like
Brother,
so.
it's Will Smith getting jiggy with it. He
I
he bites it just for the look. He don't light it.
I think that's also just a little Gilbert Smith kind of. He was that was him telling his son like, "Oh yeah, and we'll smoke the cigars." Like that's an old person thing kind of
Yeah,
deal.
no, I'm okay with that too, though. I like that aspect of it. I think a father-son team is a fun thing in the sport anyway.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Well, just before we move on, I did like this question here from Johnny. Do you think Elijah Smith versus Malcolm Wellmaker at this point? That I think I mean, I'll answer first just to say that I think that that might be dangerous for both of those guys because Wellmaker coming off of a loss right now takes a little bit of the shine off of the steam engine that he was before that, and then potentially you're putting a negative notch on either side of two very hot prospects. So that would be my look at it. What do you think, Chase?
I personally don't like that one because yes, yeah, I think it's just too early for Elijah Smith. We got to keep growing him gracefully. I don't want to see him face any real like I mean Su Young Yu is a real prospect. He exists. He's in this world. But when I talk about like a real prospect, Malcolm Wellmaker is a named person that I would say keep Elijah Smith away from because he could in one round derail everything that we've just worked for in the last 2 years.
That's what I mean. Either way, they're getting one of them is getting derailed. Malcolm Wellmaker would be further derailed, which would be really bad at this stage of his career. And then Elijah Smith taking the loss that would kind of take some of the shine off of him too. So yeah, I'd say that it would be wise matchmaking not to make a fight like that, at least not at this stage.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that takes us to the next fight then. This is Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. This was a frustrating fight in a number of ways. It was not a bad fight. This was another one that I thought was pretty entertaining, but there were elements of this fight that made me a little bit frustrated at times, and that goes for both sides of the coin. So what do you think of this one, Chase?
What do I think? I think one, I'll shout out Jesse because this
Oh,
comment is actually perfect. Elijah Smith Xiaolong, book it right now.
brother, there's the Chinese fighter that would complete the trilogy of the major countries.
I love it. But either way, yes, this fight here, one, not great. And I will blame Vitor Petrino because he went to heavyweight and actually became very just like them. Like, I don't know. It's crazy that you're light heavyweight. You're kind of light on your feet. You're a very fast, fluent striker kind of deal. And then you go to heavyweight and you're just a dude who just can't throw fucking strikes for more than 2 minutes. Like it's absolutely insane how much running he did in this fight. And it's not necessarily like he was running, but he was very, very far away from the fucking strikes on all of these. And you gotta Steven Asplund had to bring the fight to him and he did a decent job. Like, bro, he was really trying to win, and I honestly thought he did. I think this is one of the robberies that we could talk about when it came to the scoring. And a lot of people have been saying that too. And I don't know why this is controversy. You just raised your eyebrow. You thought Vitor Petrino won this one?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. I mean, now granted, I agree with you that Petrino was evasive in a number of instances here, but I thought it was a good use of his own cardio, which remained solid throughout this fight. And that's the one of the bigger notes that I had about Asplund in this thing. Like what you said, I mean, you know me when it comes to this, Chase. You have to make the fight your own. Now, Asplund also by the third round was wearing so much damage. Asplund is in the same boat, unfortunately, as Zachary Reese when it comes to his complexion. The bro wears damage badly, and this was one of those fights where it was unfortunately adding up like that. So but that's a side point. My point is that when you saw Steven Asplund in the center of the octagon almost labored in his movement after the very end of round one, I could kind of see this coming from a mile away, only because Petrino, lighter on his feet still to this point, like he was able to get it. Like Petrino was not running to the point where he was not engaging. That's always my thing. If they're not engaging, you have a case. Paulo Costa was running. Vitor Petrino, he's in, he's getting a couple of shots, he's out again. I think that this was a savvy navigation of this fight, honestly, when Steven Asplund wasn't able to bring the fight to him for more sustained amount of time.
Chat, let it be known that there is a fundamental flaw on Thinker's on when Thinker watches the fighters walk out. He is unable to realize when a fighter is compromised. Steven Asplund had a cut on his cheek when he walked into this fight. The cut that was on his cheek only opened up, and that's fine. That's fine. It's not like, but yes, he was wearing blood from a cut that was already on his cheek. And the thing is, Steven Asplund won this fight not necessarily because he was winning the striking battles, which he was, in my opinion, the knockdown, of course, and then the striking and all the other rounds. He was the one pushing the pressure. He was the one walking into the fight. And Vitor Petrino really didn't land the better shots, in my opinion. I thought Steven Asplund did everything to win in the striking. Not only that, but he proved that he's actually not even fucking shit. Like, he didn't even get taken down by this dude. Do you guys realize that? Vitor Petrino shot 4 different takedowns. You know who got him down? Denzel Freeman. You know who didn't get him down? Vitor fucking Petrino. This dude actually has skills. He's not some fucking loser who's going to get taken down and choked out like I said he might be. One-armed Petrino could finish Steven Asplund if Denzel Freeman could. But you know what happened? Steven Asplund stuffed every single takedown as an ex 500-pound fat man. And he came out here, he didn't have the volume on the strikes. But when you have somebody who's not willing to stand and trade with you, yeah, you're not going to land 500 strikes on somebody. 73 is more appropriate, but I think those 73 won the fight if you're watching it from the lens of like, oh yeah, his cheek is already cut. He already is like healing from something. Like, I get it. Bleed, blood, damage, this is exactly what they score. But from my point of view, you can't score every round based on the cut from round one that had already been there from before the fight, I would say.
No, I agree with that aspect of things. We'll get into some of those other thoughts here in a second, but I think we have to hold the phone briefly here. Yo, Lachlan coming in with the 14.99 Australian dollar super chat says, "Got a little bonus at work. Here's your share for helping me get through my boring afternoon emails and admin with your consistent banger streams." Brother, Lachlan, you are the man. Thank you so much for your support, man. We really appreciate it. That is
Hell yeah.
very kind, very kind.
Absolutely. And it's now time to change the account to Lachlan Marshall 2026, brother. You have officially ranked up.
True that. You have ascended, my friend. Thank you so much for your generosity, sir.
It,
So yeah, what?
Johnny, right here. And I'm also impressed with Asplund, good takedown defense, and he still has good potential of being top 10 if he fights another blob. Vitor Petrino wasn't willing to actually fight with him. That's the crazy part. Steven Asplund would have put on an even better performance if he had somebody who was going to stay in range of his strike. Listen, you're talking about Steven Asplund getting tired. Brother, he was 500 fucking pounds before. Yeah, he's going to get tired. I
But
get
that
it.
does not matter in this fight. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way that the cut doesn't matter after round one, then that does not.
But
All of those aspects don't play a part. He has to go and win the fight.
But you're making it seem like Steven Asplund was the more labored fighter. He may
He
have looked
was.
labored. No, bro. Vitor Petrino was standing still every time he got away from the strikes. He would pop away, go left, circle out, stand there, wait for him, wait for Steven Asplund to walk forward and actually put strikes on him. And then Vitor Petrino just does this shit and then goes to the other side of the cage and waits for him again. Steven Asplund is doing fucking emotes, pulling his pants down and shit
Well,
because the dude's across the fucking cage waiting
no,
for him.
well, we have to talk about that. So yeah, I mean that really I think was a bit one of the biggest things that kind of colored my opinion about this fight in the first place is that Petrino, getting out of harm's way. I said, a lot of times instead of staying in the pocket there, but this was one of the times where Asplund finds the mark, drops Petrino, lays on the heavy shots, but he can't keep the control. So when Petrino evades, instead of going to find the finish, this is round one we're talking about here. This is when he should still have been fresh. Asplund hits the emote on him. I'm like, you know how I feel about emoting in fights and showboating in general. This is a perfect example of why you do not do that because he still had him hurt. Now, granted, he was coming back too. It wasn't like he was like super dazed and rocked and stuff like that. He should have just ran at him full force, but you know that he should have continued the sequence as opposed to hitting the emote on him. I mean, this is like you're after that, you're looking up at the clock to see where it's at. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt at that time. I was like, look, there's 15 seconds left in the round. Big guys. I understand it. You come back, you take those 15 seconds, you come back and you go at it 100%. He stayed degened at that point, bro. The cardio was already zapped. So I'm not super mad at Vitor Petrino for having the wherewithal to do a little dancing out there if he needed to. Yeah, you don't stay in the pocket. This is his own version of gassing him out further, is him saying, come to me, which he was doing. I give Asplund all the respect in the world for going out there and finding the shots when he could, because he was the one that had to keep advancing. But that's what Petrino was making him do. He saw that he's a more tired guy. Go in, pop him up twice, move back. Come on, brother. If you got it in you, let's go. You come get it.
Yeah,
I liked it. I thought it was okay.
it was fine. There were definitely moments, and to agree with Jesse, yes, I agree. There were definitely moments where Petrino did engage. Like he waited there for Steven to come in and throw strikes, and Petrino pop him up with a 4 combo and then dip out and go somewhere else. Fine, but like I'm. This ain't no heavyweight that listen, I know we've talked about this before. I flip-flopped on Petrino plenty of times. I'm pretty sure listen, I picked him in this fight to win, but he didn't win the way that I wanted him to. I'm not gonna say that I disliked this performance because Fortunately for Vitor Petrino, Steven Asplin's just fucking fun to watch. I mean, it ain't really anything that he did, but as an entertainment factor, when listen, was it CTE? Sports entertainment. I would love entertainment in the sports.
Oh no, no, and
Steven
look,
Asplin's here.
that's what I'm saying. I am still a fan of Steven Asplin. I don't care, where he came out after this, this was all said and done. He's even in there say, hey, let's go get a beer after this. He is a cool guy who you want to root for, and I certainly still do. He was in the from the hospital, putting the video out. Oh, it didn't go the way that we wanted to, but we're still in this. All these kinds of things. I like the guy. I like him. I like his style. What I say about Steven Asplin, especially based on a fight like this, is, brother, I know you've come a long way in your weight loss journey, and that's very commendable. I absolutely respect that. I respect everything that he has been able to accomplish and has done so far, but you got to get the cardio a little bit higher. You have to be able to continue pressing when you're, up against a fighter who's going to do what Petrino did. I mean, when you're looking at the clock after the end of round one and then don't regen to round two, that's concerning. This is a fight where he had pressure being put into his face at times. Granted, it was, kind of on, off. But like, if you're not able to sustain, like, think back to the Sean Sharif fight. Sean Sharif he wasn't dynamic enough to make that his own fight. If you have granted it's heavyweight and you're not going to get it all the time, but any of these guys higher up potentially, I mean, a lot of them that, Sergey Pavlovich is going to be able to move better than Steven Asplin. Volkov is going to run circles around Steven Asplin and use his length to be teeping and striking throughout all of that. My point is that there are going to be fighters who are going to bring this type of fight to you, and you cannot just rely on being the guy who can land a bunch of strikes when they're in your face.
I definitely see where you guys are coming from to pick Petrino here, but as somebody who picked Petrino to win this fight, I I don't know. It's not even just being biased towards Steven. I swear, I think being able to deflect the takedown attempts from Vitor Petrino on top of the striking being close. Again, it, I don't personally believe that you can count all 3 rounds for damage to Petrino. If you want to count round one because
No,
he
no, no,
opened
not
up
all
the cut,
three.
that is very fine to me. But the fact that he's wearing blood after round one, that does not lend me to believe that Vitor Petrino is doing something crazy outside of just opening the cut in round one, because it really was just one cut on the cheek, and then later on he got one, but like that's fine. That's fine by me. I like Steven Aspen on this one. Again, funny guy, decent post fight, little moment with the get a beer thing, but Petrino, God hope that he is not on his way up the rankings for the belt. But
Fair.
it's heavyweight, and I think talking about Steven Asplin's cardio is a little redundant. It's every single heavyweight's major flaw.
But see, that's what I'm saying though. It's not anymore. That's what I'm trying to get at with this. And also, this kind of reminds me of a little bit of like how you would say to me, fouls are just part of the game. You just have to accept it and move on and fight through it or whatever. You got to accept that some of these guys are going to fight a little evasive, and you have to make the fight your own. I think it's a similar kind of deal there. So that's what I'm saying. Heavyweight is evolving. They're trying to evolve it. Like, these are going to be more apparent and more like happen time and time again. A fucking Rizvan Kuniev could be a guy that would give him problems like that.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
that
know.
dude. Yeah, fair. I agree
So,
with you, but hopefully there's more for Steven Asplin out
oh,
there.
I definitely think that there is. I absolutely think that there is. I think that a fight like this should hopefully be a learning experience for him. I mean, 7-2. The guy is still, I mean, not early, but early enough. I mean, this should not be something that's going to derail him. Already has a win in the UFC. Fan-friendly fight style. They're going to definitely keep Asplin around. There's no jeopardy of that right now. So come back better, and you will still have a fan over here rooting for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up, to round out these prelims, not too much to say on it except for one major point. This is Chris Curtis versus Miktabek Orolbai. I mean, Miktabek made a ragdoll out of Curtis in this fight, but he did it in a kind of sleazy way with those back of the head shots in the first round. Chase, what did you think about all of that?
All of that, as in the back of the head shots, I don't really care, honestly. I didn't. I In this performance, I can tell you that I don't remember many strikes being thrown from Miktabek Orabai. I mean, if you look at 20 significant strikes being thrown, that's fine. But 83 total, I think is a little generous, because this dude did not strike not one bit in this fight, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it, not one bit. But I will I will say this, and I want to stop the show for a second because this is the time that the surprise is going to happen.
Oh, all
So
right.
everybody, I know you have been waiting, but I want to tell you guys a little story, just real quick. We got to
All
tell a
right.
story. Back when I first started the channel, obviously I got to have people to root for. Chris Curtis is from Cincinnati. Now, I have never been able to get in contact with him to find out what areas or anything like that, but I have always wanted to get some sort of memorabilia like, oh, this guy's from Cincinnati. Here's Chris Curtis. And I've been waiting for the opportunity to do this. But his opponent, Miktabek Orabai, is obviously one of my favorite fighters in the organization, and I thought it was only right for me to do something very commemorative for him. So, everybody, you have been witnessing it right in front of your eyes this entire time. You haven't even seen it, but I'm going to show you right now.
Let's go.
So, Miktabek Orabai is a part of my collection now. I own him. This guy is my friend. I mean, obviously, look at him. Tell me this is not perfect. This is not the listen. The epitome of what you need in your life right now is your own Miktabek Orbai. So
I mean,
everybody right here, right now,
for our
shut.
audio only listeners, Chase has a what is that canvas? I
It
guess
is canvas.
it's a canvas print of Miktabek Orlabai that I guess is gonna go on the wall. Perhaps it's like
Gonna go somewhere, man. I don't know, but I just know that I had to have this made because who else would fit the build of having something framed? I needed this framed. Did I not?
I cannot tell you how much I love this, Chase. I think that this is such a fantastic thing for you to have done here. Of all of the fighters that you could have chosen, I think you really chose the absolute best one to have enshrined on a beautiful piece of canvas hanging on the wall.
See, because like anybody in the world, it's like, oh, if I go get Josh Van, it's like, oh, you're just some bandwagon. You just got the champ. Who's that? You tell me who that is. If you are some casual, you tell me who this is. I know you know ball. If you
The-
walk in my house and you're like, is that Miktabek? You damn right it is, guy.
See, oh yeah, no, hardcore test passed right there. Absolutely. Yes. No, that is fantastic, Chase. Congratulations on an absolutely goated move, my friend. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah. I guess I will say, everybody who's out there listening, of course, we are on our individual channels here at CP Smalls. We got to see where Chase ends up putting this thing. I'm going to be tuning into your next stream and hopefully seeing where it ends up, landing on the wall there.
If anybody actually does want to know what the plan is, I plan to again. He's going to start a shrine. There is a new thing that we're going to start at my channel. I'm not trying to lock in too tightly to it because obviously money. We are going to start collecting Topps UFC cards. We are going to start collecting it. He's going to start the pile. Oh, he's going to be the head of the pile wherever we figure it out. All the Topps cards are going with him, and he will be looking over them. And Lachlan, no, he will not be stained white in a week.
Well, no, but what it will be is your Miktabek Oral Shrine.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And if anybody listen, just look at him. He's having a great time.
It's fantastic. I just love it now. I mean, I can't take my eyes off of it now that it's over your shoulder there. It's great. No, I love this. I think that this is fantastic. What a great reveal.
It absolutely had to be a great reveal, but what I will say is a performance like this from Miktabek Orabai is a performance that I could just disregard. I could just throw it away. Take the
Sure.
key, lock it in there, throw the key away because we know this dude can get finishes. He still has a finish in the welterweight division against Uros Medic. That was his debut, I'm pretty sure, guys. Walked in, ripped this dude's head off, no big deal. And you can still hang your hat on that. Like Chris Curtis is not somebody who's easily, submitted. It's not like he's been submitted one time. So it's not like this is the hardest task in the world. I mean, it is, but it's not at the same time. Miktabek was able to control him the entirety of the fight. He got 19 takedowns, broke the record, by the way. 18 was
Yes.
the record in the division. So Miktabek is already claiming stake in his new division.
Oh no, false. The record was I think like 14 or something like that.
Oh,
So
he just smashed it.
yeah, he had the record broken going into the third round. So yeah, no, this was fantastic as far as that goes. Yeah, I mean, really, that's why I brought up the back of the head strikes early is because really, aside from that, there's not all that much to talk about in this fight. This was a ragdolling performance. This was what Miktabek can be capable of. We knew this. I mean, like, I don't think anybody was overly surprised by this. Commentary was trying to make it more exciting than it might have been by saying, oh, we've never seen Chris Curtis in this position before. It's like, yeah, well, he's never fought Mikdebek before, so
Yeah.
this is what you get. But yeah, that's why I just have to come back to the back of the head strikes, only because it's an unfortunate marring of an otherwise really kind of perfect performance. At least 5 solid strikes to the back of the head in the first round for Mikdebek. I was like, bro, this is just not a good look. Not when you're doing what you're already doing anyway. Like, that's my problem with it. Like, we knew that he was going to be able to do this. Don't fuck it up with a bunch of sleazy shots.
This goes back to what I was saying about Niem Jargel and the Tibetan Eagle, Sometimes these guys are just they don't know when to stop. The fight is the fight to them. Back of the head, ear, it's all the same, dude. I'm smashing. And
Sure.
shout out to him. He was able to actually win without doing that much illegal stuff. Dude, he made weight, guys. Can we be happy that he has a scale now? Like, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
that's a big upgrade in the cave, just getting a scale in the first place. You are correct about that. The one other thing, again, and I'm sorry that I keep harping on the fouls and stuff, but this was actually something that is not even specific to this fight, but something I did want to bring up. So all of those illegal strikes are landing amongst legal strikes. It's one of those situations where one strike is legal, one strike is illegal. It's kind of questionable. And at one point, Chris Tione, who I think is one of the better referees personally, but everybody's got their opinions and most of them are negative about all of the referees. But Chris Tione is the referee here, and he says to Chris Curtis, who is complaining about these shots, he says, "You were turning into some of them." That's a direct quote that he said. And what I say to that, what does that matter exactly? If you are turning into an eye poke, does it no longer count as an eye poke? What's happening here?
I'm glad you brought that up because if I don't remember if you saw the video that Herb Dean actually came out. This was back a while back when he was talking about the eye poke stuff with Tom Aspinall. He explained why John Jones was never ticked for eye pokes is because he put his hand on their head. If you move your head and his fingers go in your eye, you did that. So that's just how the fucking story goes for these fucking blind referees. I don't know how to explain it to you, but if you end up punching someone in the back of the head, all you better hope is that their head was moving a centimeter off the line and you can
That
just smash wherever the fuck you want. So
Exactly. I mean, and that's I think really what I'm getting at with all of that is just the I mean, we know that this sport is subjectively overseen. We know that it's subjective to the referees and the individuals and whatnot. But with something like that, it just seems like such a blatant, like, get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, it was in motion. Okay, well, if it's always the whole fucking fight is in motion. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, when is anybody ever truly stationary in a fight, aside from very select times? I mean, like, it just seems like such an easy out for these guys who, granted, I am always the one to say it is a very tough job. It is a very thankless job, but that is all the more reason that it has to be done correctly and adjudicated fairly. And that things like that just really set me off. So anyway, aside from that, I really, there's not all that much to say about this fight. I thought that round 1 was quite obvious. Mikdebek did his thing. Round 2, better for Curtis. I think he had a little bit of striking early on. He had a couple solid kicks that connected. And Orlby was right back to what he does. The same with round 3 thereafter, more of what he does. And of course, as you said, Orlby sets the takedown record in a welterweight fight. So 19 is insane and wild. He already had the record going into that 3rd round. This guy is a legend, and unfortunate for Chris Curtis, he complains more, and that's that. But it's the fouls. You know how I feel about this stuff. It was something I had to get off my chest.
yeah, there's one thing that I would say is that I know how to pick them. And if you are somebody who is, you are screaming legend, you end up on a canvas, brother. So that's all I got to say. It's not no wanted poster, but brother, I know you come from the century where they hung that up with cloth. I got you on the canvas though.
I love it. I think that this is such a great addition to the stream room for you there, Chase. I can't wait to see the tops cards and all of what you end up doing with this. And this is a great starting point. So shout out to you and also to Mikdebek for being the guy on the canvas.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a Chad, man. You have no idea, guys. It's to shout out to everybody. I hope you thought this was as enjoyable as I did. I have not stopped thinking this is the funniest thing ever. Like, this is perfect for everything that I have here. Like, I don't have because when the tops thing, it comes to the sports memorabilia aspect of this. I have the flags, but that's not necessarily delegated to the UFC. I have nothing UFC related other than a wine box that holds the flags that says UFC on it. This right here is the first official UFC sports memorabilia that I have. So
I
the
love
tops
it.
are coming next, but this is the first, guys. This is history right here. You saw it. You were here with me, and he was here too. So shout out.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, brother. I really enjoy it. I got quite a chuckle out of it, and in a good way. Very much with it. So shout out to you, and shout out to Didgery Dave and Mrs. Didgery Dave in the chat. Appreciate you guys.
And yes, Hydra, you're gonna end up on a canvas. Sounds like you're gonna slime him out. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you don't tell him that, I mean, just you're enshrined on my wall, and he'll be very happy with that, I'm sure.
You guys are gonna be real sad when you never see Mick Beck fight again because he's stuck in this painting.
It's like Superman with those boxes things or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, there you
it was
go.
a joke attempt that didn't work. Anyway, let's move on.
Hell yeah.
Good deal though, man. I enjoy that. All right, next up here. This is one, yeah, though I guess we're gonna have some words about this one now. This is Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. This was, I think, one of the harder crash outs that I had on this card, and I think both of us chose Charles Johnson to win this fight. So it wasn't necessarily about him, but I could not tell you that like what these judges were thinking with this fight. I mean,
Oh, I can.
well, why don't you go ahead and tell me then? Because this, I mean, like, I thought that this was a very solid performance for Bruno Silva against a Charles Johnson who seemed out of sorts. He did not seem like he was himself in this fight. He was behind the black line for a lot of this fight. He was being backed up by a much smaller guy, which is never a great look as far as the optics go. And I mean, to say that he had like some definite moments of striking is certainly true, but the majority of the pressure and the activity I thought was on Bruno's side. So enlighten me, Chase.
Well, when you look at this fight, you have a person who, when you say Charles Johnson just didn't look like himself kind of deal, well, he did get knocked out literally like a month ago.
And I acknowledge that.
That's the unfortunate part. The other unfortunate part is that Charles Johnson has a current knockout win against two of the hottest prospects as of right now. Bruno Silva does not have that. So that's the only thing that leads me to believe that the ref took the night off and said 30-27 Charles Johnson because that's what Dana White wants, because there's no other reason for you to believe that Charles Johnson won every single round here. And if you did think he won one of those rounds, then another one of those surely you did not think he won because there were not any moments in this fight. You could even see it on Charles Johnson's face and demeanor during the fight, even when he went to the corner. That is not somebody who believes they are winning a fight, who is leading the confidence as of I'm winning here. Even when they announce the scorecards, he hits you with the oh shit, it's fine. That's the way the cookie crumbles. He obviously knows that, with Tamirov, he got popped and they didn't scrub the win away from that guy. So he knows that's how it goes. Split decision win, you take it and run. That's how it goes. Whatever the case may be. But it's unfortunate because yeah, we picked Charles Johnson and we like Charles Johnson. It's easy to be biased, right? It's easy to say like, oh yeah, I picked him. He won, no big deal, easy. But like when you know he lost, come on, guys. Like, let's be real. Bruno Silva won this fight. And it's crazy to say that because he really didn't have a reason to. He's undersized. He's not necessarily, the range is not in his play. And he's gotta walk Charles, he's gotta chase Charles the entire fight. And he fucking did that shit. He won, and this is again a guy that Josh Van couldn't even beat. Lonnie Kavanaugh couldn't even beat. In the third round is when Charles Johnson gets the most deadly. Bruno Silva had no fucking problem with him. And I think that's just unfortunate that Bruno kind of got fucking robbed here. Not kind of got robbed, but every single judge, okay, one gave it to Bruno, but the other one giving a 30-27. Again, I ask, did you even watch the fight?
This was one of the most egregious judging errors that I've seen. I mean, since the last time I have seen one of the most egregious judging errors, I said this is a name that judge moment to the nth degree. 30-27 for Charles Johnson in this fight. It's like it's unfathomable to me, really, that would be the case based on what we saw in this fight. I mean, it was a lot of forward pressure from Silva. Johnson, like I said, behind the black line for a lot of this fight. I mean, he is comfortable behind the black line. He is also very comfortable off of his back foot. So at first I was like, okay, this is not necessarily like the best optically, but like he's able to set up counters. He's able to be dynamic with his movement. But then when I didn't see that out of him, at least through two rounds, I was like, okay, this is starting to get a little bit different. Now, I do think that he won. I say that the first round kind of did go to him because of the total strikes, but again, optically, it was just like gun shy, and there were just instances that did not look great for him there. And then Silva just kind of doing what he wanted. I mean, he got a great combo, Silva, in the second round, definitely won that second round. That second round is really the one that I'm like, if you 30-27 and you saw round two, you are blatantly misrepresenting this fight. Like, there's no two ways about it to me.
I can't believe Hydra, like, you must be rage baiting. Damaging shots goes to Johnson. I can't tell you that any shot made me think Bruno needs to back up. There was no point that Bruno had to fear anything that Charles Johnson was throwing back at him. He honestly was cooking Charles Johnson with that uppercut. Charles Johnson literally went to his corner and said, he's getting me every time with the uppercut. And that was after the round one. And then he continued to get caught on it for the remainder of the fight. It was absolutely ridiculous that they gave, every single round to Charles Johnson, when even Charles Johnson is admitting, like, yo, I'm getting cooked up right now. It's kind of just, what is the deal here? Like, what is actually the story, and why? I don't know. I like Charles Johnson, and I would love to see him in the win column, but I want him to do it right. I don't want people to have these performances where I have to create a narrative around it. It's like, bro, go out there and win the fucking fight so I can actually tell you, like, you're a fucking dog. Like, this one right here, Bruno pulled out the performance of a lifetime kind of deal where he really shut out the dude who has two current wins, finishes over prospects that are ranked right now. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an unfortunate circumstance for Silva regarding that, at least. But the other thing that I had to mention with this fight was that there was a lot of foul related shit going on yet again. This is one where it actually was almost sneaky. So early on in round one, somebody in the chat had mentioned this on the watch along, and I didn't even pick up on it in the moment, but I saw it on the rewatch. Round one, Silva lands a nut shot that Charles Johnson just tanks. Like, he
Yeah.
just ate it. You see him grab his cup for a brief second, but he doesn't protest it. So nothing called from that, but it did land. So you have that in your mind. One already, and it's really almost, I call it, brass balls Johnson over here for just, not making a thing of it, but it probably would have been to his benefit to have made a thing of it, because later in the fight, there's an incidental head clash. Charles got the worst of that. I mean, like, it was lucky that he didn't go out from that or anything, because if you saw the angle, it was Bruno coming straight in and upward. He's the taller fighter too, so head connects right on the jawline. That could have been real bad, but nothing happens from that. They go right back to it. Then immediately after the head clash, another low blow from Silva to Johnson. And I was like, should that not have been a point deduction? Because there was one earlier than that was called. So now we're at three at this point, basically. So you have the first one that doesn't get called, you have one that does get called, and then a second one thereafter that was also warned about, but another hard warning. And it's like, the second one looked like it could have been questionable. It was one that might have just grazed or whatever. But like, the fact that you stopped the action for that second one, should that not have been enough of a warning to warrant the point deduction for the third?
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. I oftentimes, when it comes to nut shots, like, I'll see them and I'll be like, that looked low, but they don't say anything, so whatever. But Charles Johnson must have that steel tie cup. If he didn't really say anything after that first one, Joe Rogan was probably really proud of him. Like, that's my guy. But
True.
then after like three or four, I mean, you can't just let them get away with it. You have to. I don't know. You do have to fight. Unfortunately, I would love to say that Charles Johnson did the right thing by, making it known that things were happening, that the ref needs to fucking step in. Um, but at the end of the day, bro, you got to win the fight. And I don't think you were winning the fight, but obviously Bruno Silva was having moments, whatever you can say.
Yeah, I mean, I said that Silva absolutely won two of these rounds, if not all three. I had it either 1-1 or 2-0 going into the third round for Silva. So, I
And that's
mean,
after a rewatch and
yes, yeah.
and in the moment, or
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Hmm,
absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
I was super surprised
Well,
by this
Chad is
decision.
over here trying to fucking rage bait us. 30-27 is more reasonable than giving Silva the win. Like, what? Like,
I don't, yeah, I don't know where that's coming from, but I mean, whatever the case may be, I guess, yet another one. But I'm saying, I mean, this is another name that judge kind of situation here. These guys have to be at least, if we are not going to get justice in any way, shape, or form from the commission, the very least, and I mean, unfortunately, it's the least, but the least that we can do is be aware and within the community make it known who these judges are. So I think that this is an entirely appropriate time for there to be some tweeting going on at whoever these judges are, saying, explain yourself, God damn it.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
Either way, Charles Johnson gets the win. Both of us had picked him to win, so congratulations to us. But and that kind of the last thing I'll say about this, and we can move on. But on the watch along, I did say this as well. I am a fan of fighting. I am not a fan of any specific fighter generally. There are some fighters that I like more than others. There are fighters that I'm friendly with, these types of things. Like I I am a fan of the fighting itself. And for that reason, that is why I care so much about fairness in these fights, because I like to see active competition that is on a level playing field. So let the best man win based on that. So that's why when Chase and I come in here and say, we didn't think that Charles Johnson won this fight, you can tell that it's the bias goes out the window, because to me it's the fighting that matters more, and that's why we're all here, is because we like fighting. So if you have these weird parasocial relationships with fighters where it's like you want them to win because they're your buddy in your mind or whatever, like that I really think should be thrown out the window when it comes to how you're viewing the sport, because at the end of the day it should be about a fair and level playing field for the guys that you like as well as the guys that you don't like. So the guys that you do like end up getting fair wins. It's what you said earlier about this fight, Chase. You want to see them win. You want to see them win legitimately.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I've said this plenty. You were speaking to a point that I've always talked about. It's like, if I don't get upset about the robberies that are fighters that I don't care about, then why should I care about the fighters that I do care about? If it's not completely across the board, if I can't make a muck about fucking Virna Jandiroba, then I have no reason to make a muck about Josh Van. Like, I mean, if I'm not if we're everybody's not getting the equality that they've needed, whatever.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, anyway, that's all that I wanted to mention about that. We can move on to the next one here, which of course is Iwan Kutelaba versus Umar C. This guy Umar C needs to get the fuck out of here at this point, bro. I mean, granted, now, I mean, I'm probably being a little premature with that, but I think that where that's coming from is just me saying that I have seen enough based on this performance and his last performance.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying. They'll definitely give him another one, and if two or three more. But brother, there was nothing happening in this fight, at least on his end. Cutalaba's doing exactly what he does every single time, and uh, the fight ends in a fucking submission that he taps to before it's even really locked in there. I mean, you can't really say too much else. There's only one thing to talk about. One takedown attempt, right into guillotine, mounts up, dude taps right away. I mean, this is supposed to be some hot prospect. You're at least supposed to show me that you're willing to die in there. Think back to what the Contender Series had in store for Mosvar and Diego Lopez or whatever. Maybe it was their debut on short notice. I don't think it was Contender Series. I think it was debut. Diego Lopez had a knee bar on Mosvar. He did not tap, and it was deep, and he did not tap one bit. Mokaev almost had his fucking leg ripped off by Andre Filio or whatever it is. I know it's a different type of submission, but like they were willing to risk limping for the rest of their lives. Omar C was not willing to risk anything in this opportunity. He tapped right away. He tapped 10 times. There has been a counter. 10 times in the moment that he found out that he could not fucking get out of a submission. It's unfortunate that there was not more heart shown. And then what I find unfortunate most, when you see somebody who represents France, like Omar C, and they have a situation like this where they instantly tap, the only thing people say, just like a Frenchie would, and
I
and
say, yeah.
it's like, when can we not have these? When are we going to grow out of it? When is somebody going to change the stereotype? Like Omar C, unfortunately, you made everybody just call you the standard generic Frenchy fighter, and that's unfortunate for you, because you could have been way more at the height of your career, which is not fucking much, and it wasn't that long ago. I personally was saying that you bring a lot of different skills than your average French fighter. You're training differently. You're doing different things. The body type. You could be a very good grappler at light heavyweight, but you just got submitted by Cutelaba, brother, in the first fucking round. So nothing else to say. Just pack your bags and better go learn something else.
I mean, that's really a fine way of expanding on the point that I was making at the start of this one. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily that he's not skilled in certain areas, but if this is what the performances are going to look like, and now multiple times against mid-level guys in the division. I mean, this is light heavyweight, so there's definitely a little bit of room for growth in light heavyweight. There's certainly a lot of opportunities below the elite echelon at light heavyweight. You're not going to be able to hang to get to that point with this type of performance. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's like, so, talking it through just a little bit. I mean, the only thing that he really did in this fight was kick. He had a couple of kicks, but Cutelaba was also kicking. So they traded a couple of kicks. Then Cutelaba gets the trip. He tripped him up. C reverses that. Then Cutelaba re-reverses that. That's the point to me where it would have been like, okay, you are now on your back over here. You're in a position that that you have a couple of different ways to navigate this. This is where your fight IQ has to kick in, and you have to be a little bit more explosive, a little dynamic, whatever the case may be, to get yourself into a better position to either break it up or get yourself to a dominant grappling position. None of that happens. Cutelaba navigates the ground positions very well. He keeps control throughout all of that. Then he gets silly. He jumps gilly, rolls it onto top, and then C insta taps. All of what I just talked through, that is not the performance of a fighter at UFC caliber, in my opinion.
I think I want to run down what the chat's running with here because I think there's a lot of key stuff. At least try to get out of the choke, go to sleep. You worked your whole life for this. Literally a great fucking point. And this one, I love this from Hydra. One Umar C takes away all the work Benoit has done to change the stereotype.
Well,
and it's so true.
I was going to say that Perez Zayam is also changing that stereotype as well. So let's not get too crazy about like that. People are going to say dumb shit all the fucking time. So we know that that's just going to naturally be the thing that people are going to fall back on is going to be dumb shit. So I wouldn't go too far down that road with it, but I understand the point that you're making here.
The last point that I want to make, and Jesse, I'm not trying to point you out and I'm not trying to go at you too hard, but don't sit here and tell me Cutelaba is a fucking grappler when this dude has 13 TKOs. He's been submitted 4 fucking times and he has 4 submissions himself.
And
2
also
are in the UFC.
Right, and also a guy who is a psychopath. You know what I mean? Like he fights like an absolute maniac. So really, I mean, I have to say, like honestly, like with that point in mind, this was actually one of the more controlled performances for Cutelaba that we've ever seen. I mean, he really like navigated everything very kind of standardly. The technique was all sort of there for him, and he didn't have to go crazy. But this is a guy who you can get. Why neither of us picked him to win this fight is because of what a crazy man that this guy can be at times.
I think what's more interesting, and I think this is really key, we have to find out what is going down on April 4th or whatever, because he clearly wanted to be there so much more than this. He had to win here. He not only had to win here, he had to win by finish because I want to be April 4th. I want to go April 4th. You guys didn't let me, but I will do it. I'm the madman. You guys want guys like this.
I said it takes an absolute Chad like Cutelaba to win the fight, take no real damage, get a quick sub, and want to come back in 3 weeks for another fight, also at the Apex.
Oh God.
Randomly, I think he said that he lives in Vegas now, so I guess it's just down the road from him, so it's like a home game, but like it was very mind-boggling because you're right. He really, really wants to be back on April 4th.
Jesus Christ, there must be some holiday or something that he really wants to compete on. It's his cousin's birthday.
It's close to Thinker's birthday, so I mean, maybe that's he could be wanting to put on another great performance for your boy, which I very much appreciate. So thank you, Cutelaba.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this performance, Cutelaba, honestly, one of those dudes that's going to be forgotten. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but people are never going to remember just how fun and exciting that this dude could be and how big of a fraud checker he is, really. When you look at the people that he's taken down, Ebo Aslan, guys, he submitted him too. So I don't know. And that's the only one that I can name off the top of my head. But Omar C, there's your other one. So
well, I mean, I think you're being a little harsh on Cutelaba, perhaps. I mean, granted, he is a little bit later in the game with 20-11-1 as his record, but it is light heavyweight. There is still opportunity up there, and if he is getting better at actually controlling his craziness, then maybe he makes a little bit more of a name for himself over time. Maybe. All I'm saying is that, if everybody is so high on Charles Oliveira, which is understandable why they are, I am completely with you on that. Charles Oliveira, a guy who had to, go through a lot of adversity earlier on in his career, come back into the organization, and you saw what he did. So I don't want to count him out just yet, even if he is a little bit of a psychopath, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like him. He's fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Definitely. He's definitely fun. Certainly still a person I will not be betting on.
True.
You never know, but good deal here. All right, let's get to the next fight over here. This is one that I mean, I'm, I wanted to say I didn't actually say it when I did it, Chase, but you had said that the Manuel Sosa knockout potentially could be a fight of the year or a knockout of the year contender. So I placed him on the list, on the fight tracker list. I think that I might have to put this fight on the fight tracker list, at least as an early entry as well. This is Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. I mean, this dude Rahiki, I was already somewhat of a fan of him from the Contender Series. We had the whole conversation last episode about why that was. I certainly knew that he was able to overcome at least a little bit of Contender Series level adversity. But what he did in this fight, not only with his own output and his cardio, which were top notch perfect as far as I was concerned, but also the adversity that he had to go through from Harry Hardwick, who really made a fan out of me in this fight. I think that this was a fantastic fight and definitely one that deserved the fight of the night bonus that it got.
Yeah, I think this was a very fun fight. I mean, we'll talk about Rahiki, but I definitely think that the main part of this story is you'll have to talk about Harry first. You know, English shins are nothing, of course, but English chins, they definitely are something.
I
And
like
this
it.
guy showcased that he does have a chin, you know, and he did get TKO'd, leg kicked in his last fight. And so when you go into your next fight, and that's something that happened, you have a lot to prove. You have to prove to everybody that one, you are a fighter. You know, there's a lot of narratives like, is this dude even a real fighter? Is this dude this? Is this dude that? He quit. He did that. Blah blah blah. So you have a lot riding on this, and not only do you have to showcase that you're not a quitter, that you're not a punk. You go up against somebody who's a decently scary prospect. You know, this is not somebody who is an easy fight by any means. But what I will say is Rahiki is kind of leading me to believe that he's going to be one of these guys that just and when I say this, I don't want you guys to think of it in the sense that we normally think. You know, plot armor that normally exists for people who are getting fucked up, you know, and they just somehow pull out the win. I think Rahiki is going to have some sort of plot armor in the way that he just happens to break his opponent's fucking jaw, you know, halfway through his fight. It's not necessarily that he came out here and put on the most masterclass performance. He didn't come out here and, you know, get a win in the first 5 seconds. No, he put on a really great performance, and that led to his opponent's face breaking. You know, it's not like it's not the craziest thing ever. I mean, obviously, it was a little anticlimactic. Shout out Harry Hardwick for going as long as he did, but like it goes back to the thing with the guy with his eye. He continued to go on. He fought through the end of the round, but at a certain point, bro, it ain't worth it. It ain't fucking worth it to have your jaw fucking destroyed even more. It's already broke. Rahiki, shout out you, brother. Gave you the dub, but I think it's just interesting. Marwin Rahiki is going to be one of these dudes that just impressively finds the victory, and you know, and it may not be a finish that you love, but on the short side of it, he broke this dude's jaw and he made him fucking tap out of the fight. You know, the coach had to call it because if not, I mean, he's going to be screwed up for a while.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, this was an entirely appropriate end to this fight based on the damage that Hardwick took. So, I mean, like that has to be said front and center. Like there is no shame in Hardwick's game when it comes to recognizing that he was compromised in that way and saying that this is the time to not go on
Yeah.
any further. Like, yeah, no disrespect to him in the slightest. What I would say about Rahiki on the other side is that, I mean, if it wasn't the jaw break, how could it not have been any of the other things that he was doing in this fight? I mean, you want to talk about a fan-friendly fight style here. This dude was laying on some of the craziest power with the most beautiful technique on top of it. That's what really was sticking out to me. It's not the fact that he was landing in volume. We've seen lots of volume strikers over our time. I mean, like there are plenty of people who will, pitter patter shots to the arms and to the, the midsection and the side. And you're like, okay, yeah, you see we talk about the numbers all the time. 175 significant strikes. It's like, where's the significance in some of those? Every shot that this guy was throwing seemed to be significant in some way. I mean, like he was putting on such a crazy amount of volume with crazy power on it, and the technique was right there to make it all connect. I mean, like he was also very poised at times. Like he picked the shots and the timing very well. It all goes back to the praise that I give to Hardwick for throughout all of that, still being able to come back and land his own shots throughout it. I mean, like this guy Hardwick was taking such crazy damage and then still somehow finding shots that would back Rahiki up at times. I was like, this really showed very great determination and grit on both sides. Rahiki just able to put together the pieces in a very satisfying way. So I think that this fight went perfectly.
Again, Rahiki is another guy. I would like to believe. I don't know. It's interesting. This guy's 23 years old. I mean, this is another guy who, if you throw him up too quick, you're gonna disappoint yourself because you're gonna lose out on potentially a really good fighter if you don't craft this guy correctly. You throw him in here with Harry Hardwick. You give him a guy who's gonna take as many beatings as a lifetime, and that's exactly what he did. Marwan Rahiki, you know, he went up against the immovable force kind of deal. And evidently, he was the victorious. He didn't actually have to finish him in the way that we typically see, but the fact that his work overall ended in a TKO, I think it's a good sign going forward. We're still going to have to see a lot of the skills that he has against different styles, but at 23 years old, he seems he seems built for it. Like, I mean, at 23 years old, he seems like he's physically ready to compete at this. Like, that's another thing about Raul Rosas back in when he was 17. Physically ready to compete is a big thing. Rahiki's physically here. He's very intellectual. He can speak. He's got the promo abilities. He's very wholesome. Whatever you want to say, he's got a lot of things that at 23 years old, give him 2 years and he could be a fan favorite. Obviously, he's going to be headlining the fucking or co-main event, the Australia card or something. Who knows? But there's not that many people out there that they really want to see in the headline. So he's fine by me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I do want to touch on, a couple of the points there. 10-7, shout out to 10-7, of course, but
Mhm.
10-7 saying, he'll get it chinned eventually. That goes to the point that you were making about not hot-shotting him too quickly. He is a younger guy. Let him develop a little bit. I think that would be appropriate. But then to the more major
We've already
point,
seen him chin too is actually a point. I mean, he didn't get
true,
knocked out, but he got very close to dying on the Contender Series. So yes, it's very likely and very possible. But
for sure.
he's got to learn.
Absolutely, yeah. That, and also, I mean, that goes to Jesse's point about the fact that he extends his combinations possibly to the point of overextending at times that will leave him open to being countered. I think that that's a very solid and a very apt criticism there. But off of what we saw in this fight, off of what we saw in the Contender Series, and what he is potentially developing into, I would say that Rahiki is the exact combination that you want in a fighter at any weight, but especially at lightweight. He has excellent cardio to
Featherweight.
enable. Oh, is he featherweight? My bad. Sorry. Yes, featherweight. Sorry. But at any weight, it applies to any
Yes.
weight. But yes, in this case, at featherweight, he has excellent cardio to enable long-term powerful output. That's what I take away from Rahiki's performance here. Is that this is a guy who he has the skill set to be technical, he has the power to back that up, and he has the cardio to do it for the entirety of a fight. Right now, if those are your building blocks, that's your foundational element of what you're seeing out of this guy. The sky is the limit thereafter. I mean, now all of the points that I just mentioned about, the criticisms, we will see as those crop up based on the level of competition that he faces. So I'm certainly not ruling out that, those are going to be things that we'll encounter. Will he take losses? Potentially, yes. Like I said, I think Jesse making a very good point about, the counterability of his style. But for what he brings to the table as a baseline lump of clay that needs to be molded, you really are in a great starting point with this guy, and this performance certainly showed that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Shout out Morocco and shout out Lachlan. Of course, shame he doesn't rep the flag. I'm pretty sure he reps both guys. I've seen him talk about both, and he shouted out everybody back in Australia or New Zealand, whatever it was, and he also shouted out people back in Morocco. So, shout out.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, just to make the point, obviously, Australia, New Zealand has a very solid representation in mixed martial arts and in the UFC. Morocco has a couple of fighters, but he really has the potential to be a hometown hero for Morocco in a way that he might not have for Australia. So I think it's understandable. And like you said, if he's repping both, I don't see any problem with that personally.
Hell yeah.
So good deal, man. I mean, really, like this was a really fun one. And again, shout out to Harry Hardwick. Last time I do want to reiterate that, we talked about his performance against Kue Fernandez with the leg kick TKO and all of that. This is exactly the type of fight and the type of fight style that gets you back in good graces. And he did come out and say that he's not going to be cut after this. So, you're going to see Harry Hardwick again. And now I'm rooting for him. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for his next fight. And I will be back in that horse, hopefully to get on the right side of things, because he does bring a good amount of determination to his fight.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that I'll be rooting for him to win any fights because this dude gets punched in the face a fuck ton.
Yes, he
Holy
does.
shit.
Yeah, this is another one where I don't know. I don't think he's a scouser, but the English don't get knocked out. I mean, that might be true, but the jaw certainly does get broken when you get hit that many times.
I would like to also say that I would pray and listen, this is the fight game. A lot of people have a lot of different troubled pasts and different stories that they've come from, but Harry Hardwick, the way that his physical appearances look, I would hope to God he has never done hard drugs, because that's the first thing people would ever say when they look at him is like, that dude is fucking zoinked out of his mind kind of deal. So I would pray that he has like the wherewithal, like, let me be better than what people assume of me. Let me change the stereotype, but if he has, and he does normally do drugs, I would not be surprised. He looks exactly like he does. Scary looking at that, but it's fine.
Sure. Well, these are the things that you can overcome by putting on great performances, and hopefully he has one of those in his next fight. Because here he was one tough punching bag, unfortunately, but one that punched back. So I mean, I definitely give him the credit that he deserves for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, that being said, let's move on to the next fight here. This is Andre Fili versus Jose Miguel Delgado. Delgado got the win in this fight. He certainly did. But I mean, this to me, I know that you're super high on this guy, Chase, and I don't want to down him. I said I think he did win this fight definitely, but I did not think that this was a performance that screamed to me, this guy is next up. This screamed, this guy is a solid middle of the packer to me.
This this was an unfortunate performance to witness, because yes, I am backing Jose Delgado. I am not jumping off the Delgado train ever. This is my guy. Seriously. I appreciate him. As you can see, he's repping Mexico now. This is what we wanted. We need you on a sphere card, buddy. Let's get you another sphere. But the thing is, it did not go the way that I wanted it to. It did not end earlier than the judges the way that I wanted it to. But what you can hang your hat on, Andre Fili is a very experienced striker. He has been on the feet with, 38 people. Jose Delgado is only 13 fights into his pro career. He does have 2 losses already, one being to some random guy in the regionals who's a decision merchant who has a win also over Javier Reyes. So maybe that dude's decent, but decisions are just not his thing. A split decision is fine. Unfortunately, it was a split. I don't think it should have been, but it was. And it was also just not the performance that I think a unanimous decision would have warranted. So it would have looked bad either way, because if he would have got a 30-27 after what I saw, oof, that's unfortunately going to fill his head a little more than it should. But a split decision to Andre Fili, hopefully you go back to the drawing board and you're like, yeah, we got to figure some shit out. I don't know. I'm still rooting for Delgado though. I really appreciate him, because I don't know, when I watched the weigh-ins and they faced off or whatever, Delgado had this look in his eyes like, I feel bad, bro, but business is business. And then we get out here and I'm seeing this performance and I'm like, Andre Fili really didn't show any caution to win, and that's what he gets for being an experienced fighter. He's been here, he knows different types of fighters, but Delgado really kind of, I don't know. It just didn't seem like he ever had that one shot that was really going to put Fili out. When you saw the fight with Nathaniel Wood, that dude was trying to kill Nathaniel Wood. This fight right here, it's kind of like he was playing around with Andre Fili for a little bit, and it's not like he was doing it on purpose. He just wasn't able to get in his rhythm. Andre Fili's a very skilled striker, switching stances, throwing a lot of interesting strikes. Delgado still got the win. I think that's what we should hang our hat on, even though we all don't love to see it like that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy that he got the win. I don't mind that aspect of it. I also said that a split decision is surprising because really this was a pretty clear 29-28 for Delgado, in my opinion. I think that it kind of goes to the point that Delgado is sort of good, not great to me right now, but that's that can still change. I'm not saying I don't dislike the guy. I mean, it has nothing to do with any of that part of anything. It's just based on what we were seeing here. This is kind of one of those ones I'd referenced earlier where I was sort of sad for Fili because he navigated very well early in this fight, but it kind of falls back on him that he did not win this fight because his output really dramatically dipped over the course of this thing. And I think that that's really where Delgado had the biggest advantage, was that he was just able to be more consistent with his striking. Fili, very early in this fight, he caught Delgado. He had him shooting to recover. I thought that, he looked really good in that first round. he was flowing nicely. That's, I think, Feely, like when Feely is actually in his element, this was a good fight to like remind you why Feely has been around for as long as he has been. Like when he's in his element, when things are clicking, he flows very nicely. He has a very like hard movement set that kind of is confusing sometimes. I think Dom Cruz, made a very good point about this in commentary, where like he has sort of a phantom pressure is kind of, I think, the way that Dom described it, where it's like he's sort of baiting you into things by like being just close enough into range to like make you feel like you could be comfortable but still being able to catch you. Like I think that he brings a lot of good elements to a fight that like would make it seem that he should have won, but he wasn't able to sustain it throughout the 3 rounds. So that's where Delgado ended up getting the better of him. It was just over the course of the fight. But like you said, no real moments that were like, that's the thing. That's the one thing. Oh, Delgado did this to him. Of course he was going to win the fight, that kind of thing.
I there was the thing that really stuck out to me most about this. Yes, it was a lackluster performance. Yes, it was not what we wanted. But when he got on the mic after, sometimes people just know exactly what to say, and it's not that he knew what to say because it felt like he was being genuine. But it reminded me of Brandon Moreno when he said, I don't know if I'm going to be the champ tomorrow or the next day, maybe not even the next day, but I will become the champion and I will bring the belt, and he actually did that. And, when you see the promos, like it's something that like lives on. Delgado at the end of the fight, very humbly, he said like, I know this wasn't what you guys wanted. It wasn't what I wanted either kind of deal, but I'm willing to put in the work to prove to you guys that I'm one of the pound for pound fighters in the organization. And like, it felt like a really good thing for him to say because you don't get that shit. You don't get people who there's no character, there's nothing else. He's looking forward to like what he can improve in his career. It's not I want to fight for the belt. I want to go do this. I want to do that. I want to give me the bonus, Dana. It's like I want to prove to you all I'm better than that. I'm not only better than that, but I'm one of the best in the fucking world. He cares about what we think of him as a fighter,
Yeah.
and that's what's important.
No, I agree absolutely. I thought he was great on the mic, and one other thing that I picked up on his post fight interview was him saying that he appreciated this fight with Feely because he watched Feely versus Holloway live. Like he's a fan of the sport and went into the sport. I always say the future stars of MMA are made in the stands. So I mean, like he's really proving that point right here. I want to see him become that. Like again, I'm I'm being a little critical because of he's going up against a very tenured fighter in Andre Fili. This is a dude who's been through a lot. So I don't think that this is going to derail him. I think that this is just one to kind of keep in mind that he still does have those steps to go, moving up.
I I've said this before, and I don't want you to feel like you shouldn't be critical of a performance like this. And I think everybody should be, because even Delgado knows that this is not what we've come to expect from him. This guy knows that he could have done better, should have done better. But the thing is we have to let him know honestly, and no bias, no bullshit. If he's gonna get better, he has to know what he needs to get better. We can't glaze a performance. You beat Andre Fili. Hats off to you. You outstruck him. You did that. You got a takedown. Whatever you want to say. None of that really matters. You know that you could have done more. You need to hear that other people see that you could have done more. It's not just you feeling like that. A lot of people, they overthink and they're down on themselves. They're hard on themselves. But like, it's not us being, mad or disappointed. Like, bro, you have the skills. Like, you could really do this shit. We are locking in because we see that these are the things that are missing out of this performance compared to what you've done before.
Yeah,
So
no,
you just need to lock in.
yeah, it's literal constructive criticism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exactly what it is. I mean, we want him to continue on. So these are the things that like he already is acknowledging it. So it's not even like he really needs to hear that from the community as much. If he goes back and continues to work hard, like there's nothing to say that he doesn't achieve what he wants to do. He's still young. I mean, 11-2. This is a perfectly fine record and a perfectly fine stage in his career and a win over a tenured guy. Like these are all the things that you should be doing. It's just, there's that little bit of an extra bump you need to be in the upper echelon, to be in that elite status. If you're claiming that you want to be that elite, you got to work that extra inch. It's just all, the difference in the sport is very razor thin at times, but it's those types of efforts that make the difference. And what you're able to accomplish in your career is hinging all on that.
Yeah. I really, I didn't love the performance, but I like the idea that Jose Delgado is not Superman, I did build him up to be one of the better prospects that we have, and I still believe that. Featherweight division is starting to get jam packed full of prospects that are very deadly. Jose Delgado, I think him getting a split decision here, obviously losing would have been bad, but getting a split decision here, good experience is what I would say.
Absolutely. So, a fine enough win to take it home and just keep putting that work in. And that's
Hell
really
yeah.
about it, right? All right, good deal. Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. This is Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. What I said about this fight coming into our review here, Chase, is that Jillian needs to train at Bia Mesquita's gym. Her striking is just so mid, and it's going to be a big problem as she continues to call for the belt, as she has been. Now, Jillian Robertson is out here starting to make a big of a little bit more of a stink about this. She's saying, I've done all of, I've got all these finishes, I'm this and that, and I've got so much experience, whatever, all the things that she is saying. And she says, the last thing that I need to complete it all is the belt. If you're asking for it, you're going to find out real quick what the top of this division looks like. And
Mackenzie Dern?
well, I mean, yeah, true. Good point. You know what I'm saying? There are definitely going to be challenges. Even Mackenzie Dern has better striking than her.
Listen, this goes back to what I was saying before the fight. And then if you're talking about her striking, this goes right into it. She was 100%, and I know Bleeding Edge saw it too. 100% Jillian Robertson was limping into the cage. And now
She was pimp walking.
that's not what that was. She was definitely limping, and that is exactly why she was not able to strike very well, is because it was her left knee, and that's exactly where she didn't have no jab in this fight. You got to snap forward and step. She didn't have that. She didn't have any movement. If you rewatch the fight, she had this weird, awkward moment where she would lift her leg up like she was checking a kick, or if she was going for a knee, but her leg just did not lift very high. Like, I can't tell you what was wrong with her. She obviously was able to use her leg, but she was clearly in some sort of
See,
discomfort. And I think performance in this, and I think it actually speaks to the level that Jillian Robertson is. She literally got a finish on a bum knee. Yeah, she was grappling most of it. Yeah, she fought through adversity with a lot of illegal strikes, but she still got the victory unanimously, very dominantly, for somebody who I know at the time was not 100%. I mean, if you don't want to see it that way and you want to talk about her striking, I think in the next fight at her at 100%, you will be very surprised to see that she can actually still strike. I this fight right here is just a bad indication of
I
it.
mean, no, but see, that's the thing, though, is that I've kind of had this criticism about Robertson for a while. It's not necessarily just this fight. I always go back to the point that was made a while back. I forget which fight it was of hers, but the fact that she doesn't do any kind of weight training, like that always stuck out in my mind. It's like, you're out here as a professional fighter and you're not conditioning your arms to be stronger. Like that kind of just is an odd sticking point to me. And then you see something like this. Now, you're talking about this limp. People have been saying it. I saw it in the chat during the watch along, this and that. All I know is that if she limped to the cage, she certainly was bouncing around on that foot and that leg before the fight started. So I don't know how compromised she actually was, unless that was all for show. She didn't seem like she was in her own head at
I
all about it. So I don't know.
I
I
I
mean,
think
like,
it's listen, plenty of fighters are compromised to go into the fights and they still know that they have to.
uh, see, the internet didn't like that line of discussion from Chase. I'm telling you.
The
Oh, he's
thing
back. Hello,
is
Chase.
a lot of fighters go into their fights compromised. They have to carry on with the show. If you pull out of a main event, co-main event, you are frowned upon. Jillian Robertson has been around long enough. She has seen all of this happen. She knows they don't give a shit if my knee is tweaked. But I'm not saying that she couldn't fucking walk. But she was ginger on it, and yeah, if she was jumping, she was locking in. She had a whole fight to go where she's gonna be standing on her knee. Let's get the worst of it out the way. Let's jump on it a little bit. Let's bounce around. But when you watch her, even at the end of the fight, she's stilting on one leg. She's locked her right knee in place because she doesn't want to put any pressure on her left leg at all. She limps out the cage. Like it's really interesting. Like, I don't know, am I a body language expert? Because I can tell when somebody, maybe she has a leg that's shorter than the other. I don't know, guys. Does she always look like this?
Well, regardless of this, though, I mean, like going back to my point, so it's like, okay, this fight that let's say that that's 100% true. You've seen striking out of Jillian Robertson before that has made you think, man,
No, but
that's
I've seen
champion level.
striking before. I've seen her strike because in this fight I said, "Wow, she's not doing what I've seen her do before. She's not looking like she does." She got it immediately to the ground, which is fine. We're good with the ground stuff, but she had to fall back on that. We probably would have seen a better striking game from her with Amanda Lemos. It probably would have been heightened after the fact when you'd be like, "Wow, she went 15 minutes and stood with Amanda Lemos. That's a knockout artist. That's a really good striker. That person got a title shot off of being such a good striker." And Jillian Robertson went 15 minutes on the feet with her. Unfortunately, with a bum knee, we got to take her down. And maybe that was the game all along because, again, it's Amanda Lemos. But Jillian Robertson on a bum knee, I think, took this victory single handedly. And I think you'll be very surprised to see her look a lot better in her next fight.
I wouldn't be super surprised. I just think that I need to see striking improvement to be champion material to me. Because I mean, look, Jillian Robertson has the most submission wins in women's MMA. I mean, she's credentialed in that department, so there's really nothing to improve there. I just that's why I say, I mean, I think that her having a coach or a gym like what Bia Mosquita does, where she's drilling striking to get herself up to snuff that way, could make her only that much better and more of a champion, a champion in the making than what we're sometimes seeing out of her currently. That's all I'm saying with that. Because really, I mean, a lot of this fight, sad to say, and especially it goes to your point even more so if this is the case, if especially if Robertson was compromised, I put a lot of the impetus on the way that this went on Lemos. I mean, Lemos, she started the fight pretty decently. Her striking was there. I thought she took round one personally, and then she just she didn't like turn up to the point of like getting herself into striking, consistently throughout the rest of this thing. Like I said, that Lemos should have tripled up on the striking in the third round after rounds 1 and 2, especially round 2, definitely. Like round 1, she may have won, whatever. Round 2, she definitely lost. Round 3, she should have tripled up on the striking, thrown with power, seen if she could have gotten Robertson off of her rhythm. If she was compromised, that certainly could have been the time that it would have been showing the most at the end of the fight. She just didn't do any of those things. So, I mean, instead, she ends up going for a top down armbar that Robertson slipped out of immediately and ended up on top. It was just like poor navigation of
These
this
are
fight,
not the
I
issues
thought.
that I had with Amanda Lemos. The issue that I had with Amanda Lemos is the fact that she only landed, in my estimate, throughout the fight, 6 total strikes, and all of them were back of the head elbows. And it's actually pretty insane that there was no issue with this. You don't you are you not remembering this? You rewatched this fight and you don't remember the back of the head elbows in this.
I mean, not ones that were like as
Oh, no,
blatant as you're making
these
them
were
sound. I
horrible,
mean, I guess
bro, and
maybe
it's pretty funny because the UFC page even posted them like, "Look at this work from Amanda Lemos," and it's, like, literally all the back of the head elbows, like, it was
I remember the sequence
there
that you're
was 2
talking about.
different
They didn't
times that she
seem
was
like
doing it, bro. Yeah, it was very
okay,
bad.
yeah.
Let me know if we're cooking.
Because I remember Bisbing kind of talking about that, yeah, this is the back of the head, this is the
Yeah.
front of the head, aka the face. I remember the commentary about it,
That
but it didn't seem as blatantly bad. I mean,
that's
usually I
another
do
reason
pick up
why I
on
think
those
this is
things.
such a really good performance from Jillian Robertson is because injured and your opponent is cheating and you are still able to dominantly beat them for, 2 rounds or whatever you wanna call it. I think this was very good from Jillian, especially because again, this is as if you saw Brian Ortega and Chris Barnett who rolled their ankles literally in the warm-ups kind of deal, whatever you want to say. This is as if they came out and had a dominant performance after that. That's exactly what I read this as. I saw her walk in with one leg basically. You go back to the Contender Series with that the guy from Brazil who was in the Marines or whatever. I was like, that dude walked in with a fucking limp, and everybody's like, well, I mean, it's like that's impressive. If I see that there's something physically not adding up, and then they come out here and just fucking destroy their opponent. I mean, I don't have questions if you can go out here and do it, but it's like with DDP and the nose thing. If he never got his nose fixed, and then every time he'd gas out in his fights, and he'd be like, "Well, he just doesn't have all of his, he's got to get his nose fixed." It's like the fucking those fucking issues. So Jillian Roberts' son, winning after having all of these things against her adds to the. I think it just adds an extra layer to her. She's very, very good, and I think if you were not happy or if you did not feel that this performance was a good indication that Jillian Robertson can go get a belt, I will take some dog money on Jillian Robertson against Mackenzie Dern, everybody, right here, right now.
Fair enough. I'm with it. I mean, I get look. I'm a fan of Jillian Robertson. I think that there's like a little bit of a hole there. Yeah, I know. I'm seeing what Bleeding Edge is saying here. I guess I gotta go back
Dude,
and
one of
rewatch
them,
on.
she's like, "Oh, my bad, my bad," and then just goes right back to it, like, fucking oh god.
Yeah, no, that's not great. But again, I mean, look, illegal strikes aside, I think that in that third round, it really could have been her time to throw legal strikes to start putting actual pressure on Jillian Robertson. I mean, like, show that you have some takedown defense for fuck's sake. I mean, you're supposed to be at the highest level of the sport. But either way, I mean, like I said, I'm not mad at the way that this all went down. I mean, Jillian got the win. I had picked her to win. All good there. It's more that I see the striking being an issue in the long term for her. There's a lot of different skill sets in women's MMA. It continues to evolve. There are definitely people that will strike with her a little bit more than Lemos did for whatever reason in this fight.
Lemos is like the best option that they have for strikers right now in this division. I mean, Mackenzie Dern, I mean, she's the champ, and she literally got knocked out by Andrade 2 years ago. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy to think about.
Well, then think about it in these terms. If she does have to go up against Virna, right? I mean, Virna coming off of the loss for the belt, then that's going to be grappler versus grappler to the nth degree. What's going to set her apart in that circumstance? I don't think that she's going to be able to out grapple Virna. So I mean, like, she has to, like, that's what I'm saying. She's going to be forced into striking exchanges at some point. She has to be able to hold her own that way.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I mean, I am of the assumption that Mackenzie Dern won 4 rounds from getting wrestled by Virna. So if Jillian Robertson can do a sliver of what Mackenzie Dern did, clearly she's going to win every single round because they hate Virna. Like, I mean, that's just how it goes.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, chat can feel how they want to feel about that. They certainly let us know when we were talking about that fight how they felt about it then. But
Oh,
either
yeah.
way, I'm still a fan of Jillian Robertson. I think I'm happy that she won this fight. I see potential problems in the future, but for right now, good win here, I guess.
Hell yeah.
All right. That brings us to the main event of this thing. That is Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. This really, to me, was actually, I think I'll start at my last note here to work my way backwards. Vallejos in his post-fight interview said something that I thought was insanely spot on. He said, in reference to Josh Emmett, old dog, same tricks. And I said, you know what? That really rang very true. Not necessarily only in the sense of like you've seen a lot of the same things out of Josh Emmett that he brought to this fight, but same tricks within the fight itself here. Josh Emmett was telegraphing his movements tremendously poorly, like to the point that it was very obvious the things that you could pick up on. He was dipping, he was doing all of this footwork just to plant his feet at sometimes, swing, dip his head every single time. Like he was all over the place, shifting weight all around. When he finally got down to striking, he would dip the same way every time. Vallejos only took a couple of times to figure that out.
If I told you that he trained with TJ Dillashaw for this camp, would you believe me?
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw Dillashaw in the corner, sure.
Yeah, so all that fucking footwork that he was doing, it was right out of fucking Dillashaw's book, which was right out of Dominic Cruz's book, and it's Josh Emmett, guys. Like, I mean, come on, did we really think that? It's always funny when I see, I think we've talked about it before with Ilya. It's like if he's in camp showing people that this is how I do it, and you just do it like me, you just do it like me. Here we are with Josh Emmett. He's fucking looking at TJ Dillashaw. Just do that. Just look at the footwork. Just do that. All you got to do is just look the part. He comes out here, does a fucking couple ballerina moves, and then gets immediately starched by Kevin Vallejos. It's funny because it was really the stoppage by the referee was pretty questionable because the first initial flurry probably could have got Josh Emmett out of there. I mean, he was literally looking dead to rights. Props to Kevin because very confident, very measured. Let him escape right there. He'll get up and we'll get him back the next time. But I really appreciate the finishing ability because it oftentimes we see what Gautier in his last performance. He just let him off the hook too many times. Kevin gave him his one. They didn't end the fight. The second time we will make sure they end the fight. Shout out Kevin for this finish. And when I go back to his last performance as well, I said that he should have finished Giga, but I think he was a little too measured for a little too long. That fight was on. There was too many moments where he was waiting for nothing. I have no questions, no more. I have nothing else to know. Kevin Vallejos, this dude is definitely the truth. At 18-1, the last 3 or 4 of his fights in the UFC, he's won, and he's 20 something years old. I mean, guys, this guy is the real deal. I mean, it truly is something special.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, the adjustments that I asked for from Vallejos, like from the Giga fight, all answered here. I asked for Vallejos to start strong, be quick to the draw, be first to the striking. He did all of those things. This was really like I've never seen it so clear where I'm like, these are the things to improve, and he just checks every single one off of the list immediately. Like this was exactly the performance I was hoping for from him here. And yeah, and again, I mean, like Emmett unfortunately made it very easy. I mean, Hydra, making a good point earlier here, saying that this is another person who, another guy who tries to do the Dillashaw shift and gets fucked up for it. I mean, that's really what we saw here. Emmett literally move one way, move another way, dip. You'd think that after the first time that he got caught with the uppercut from that, he would have stopped that line of thinking and that line of movement, even if that is his coaching, even if that's what Dillashaw is telling him to do. Maybe like, okay, I just felt the power off of the exact game plan that I have. Might be time to switch to plan B. Did not do that. And then, yes, to your point, Vallejos very measured, knowing that he had the finish incoming. He really gave Emmett as much rope as he needed to sadly make himself look worse. I mean, this is not Emmett's fault. Obviously, he was already pretty well knocked out. But that one time where he let Emmett off just for a split second to give him a little bit of room, and Emmett just tries to swing at range and just fumbles himself.
Yep.
I was like, oh, buddy, that is not a great look there. So really, I mean, overall, a very perfect performance for Vallejos. He did everything I thought he needed to do. And Josh Emmett, bro, it's probably time to hang him up, my dude. You're 41 years old, 40 years old, whatever it may be. And, again, it goes back to what Vallejos said, old dog, same tricks. I don't think that there's much left for you, pal.
Now we need Josh Emmett. He's still ranked. We got to give him Rahiki. I think that's about right. I think that sounds good.
Have him stay around long enough to get the Rahiki fight.
Hell yeah, we'll see if Rahiki can break that dude's jaw next. But
I'm liking that. That's fine with me. Either way, I mean, Vallejos is up, bro. I mean, it's exactly what you said. You've seen enough. I thought that I had seen enough out of the Giga fight with a couple of small adjustments, which all were made here. So I really don't have anything to add on that. No more notes for me.
there was a very funny meme. If you know the George Bush 9/11, the dude whispering like, you know, there was that meme, and it was Volkanovski's face, and it was the dude whispering, "There's another Ilya in the division, dude." So shout out, man. It was unbelievable, but we had our
Oh,
moment to get Volk the belt back, but Vallejos is on his way,
I
guys.
mean, and this right here, yet another great example of why every card matters. And, for these people who think, oh, the Apex, not as exciting, whatever, blah, 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 this is where you see the future stars making their names, making the performances that inform their future output and their future standing in this sport. So, talking this whole thing through, Chase, what did you think of UFC Vegas 114?
I really like this one, guys. I'm a big fan of a lot of people that were on this card, and I think I'm even more of a fan now of some of these people. Like when it came to Kevin Vallejos, I'm a fan. I'm a decent fan. He's cool. He's a cool guy, decent striker. But honestly, guys, he has one loss, and it's to John Silva, and that's in the midst of him knocking out like 16 people in the first round. So this guy's the fucking truth, and I have to just be real sometimes. This guy's it. So
Yeah, well, and I liked what he had said. I had seen a quote from him recently saying that he's rooting for Jean Silva. He wants to go back and get that victory back. Let if you gave Sean O'Malley the run back with Cheeto. Now, granted, different circumstances, but you know what I'm kind of getting at here. If
mhm.
you thought that was appropriate for Sean O'Malley to get his way based on the history there, I think it would be entirely appropriate at some point for Kevin Vallejos to go in and avenge that loss based on where they were at the time.
I definitely agree with you because it's not like this dude has 7 losses and one of them happens to be John Silva. You know, John Silva has multiple losses, yeah, but the thing is Kevin has one singular loss, and it was when he was younger in the Contender Series. You know, can you really gauge that as, you know, I don't know. That's just interesting to say. As of right now, I would probably take Kevin to beat John Silva, guys. I'm not the highest on John Silva after Diego Lopez. You know, if Diego Lopez was able to get over on you, I have a problem. Kevin Vallejos is that problem, and he's going to make bigger problems if you think Diego Lopez is something that is going to hold you back. I don't know.
For sure. No, I agree. I agree, and that's why it's an exciting time to watch him on the come up for sure. Yeah, no, I mean overall, this card I thought was fantastic. This was one of the best cards of the year to me. I really enjoyed this one. I thought that there were some really great performances, some really great competitive fights. Even the fights that were a little bit less competitive, perhaps, were not terrible, and most of the ones that went to decision were very spirited, could go either way kind of fights. And I enjoyed this card overall. Yes, I also did want to mention about the only thing took this card back by any respect was the fact that there were some odd technical issues with this
Mhm.
one. Didn't mention that earlier on, but yeah, 10 minutes of dead air, basically, as far as audio goes. Big audio black hole on this card for a good extended amount of time. And trust that it was not lost on me that, yes, there was the audio from the fights and from the UFC feed was cut. But when it went to commercial, all that came right back. So, yeah, obviously the bread is buttered where the commercials are. They knew that part of it, but could not get it right for the actual product that you are paying for.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was definitely something that I remember being an issue. We just did not have fucking sound for the remainder of a fight kind of deal.
Yeah, and issues that we did not have, at least not to that extent, in the ESPN era. So, I mean, I am not one that has had the same amount of problems that other people have had with Paramount, but there are certainly noticeable things that have been coming up. Another lesser talked about one for this card specifically, I think, was on the UFC side. A couple of weird graphic issues. Like there was a time when they were trying to pop up the meta or the whatever the threads, like the little comments that they have
And
over
it
there.
was blank.
It was blank. There was another one at the main event. They had listed out all of the judges, and then one of the judges was incorrect on that. So just odd little things coming up here and there.
Incorrect. Yeah, no, it's just they were saving face for when he fucking robbed us. I know.
Well, the announcer Joe Martinez announced one judge, and on the graphic it was a different thing. But you're right. I mean, it could have just been them trying to to hold them back from the avalanche of criticism that they potentially could have gotten. Either way, it would be very, very prudent and appropriate for Paramount to get their shit together at this point, because we are now well into the Paramount era. This train is out of the station now, and for them to have this amount of problems at this stage in the game, you can't. I mean, to be flat out, I mean, this is inappropriate for the level of the sport and for the amount of money that you paid for this product. You need to be putting the infrastructure in place to give it to the fans.
Yes, absolutely.
That being said, though, really happy with this one. So, yeah, I mean, that's any final words on this thing. Like I said, I thought it was fantastic. One of the best cards of the year so far.
This one was real. This one was really good. Yeah, this one was fine. A few stinkers, but we're fine with it. It was good.
I mean, like I said, I think that the stinkers were not as stinky as they certainly could be.
I don't know that Petrino fight was pretty boring.
Oh, I think that you're being overly harsh on that one. I thought that it was still a decent fight. I think that you're just I think your hatred for Petrino is bleeding over into that.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, either way, good deal. You guys take away what you feel about it in the big picture. I thought it was fantastic. Hopefully, this next card is going to live up to it. This, of course, is UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy. This is taking place in London, England. Obviously, these fans out there have been waiting for a card for a while and often get some interesting things going on. Sometimes they have been amongst the worst cards that we have ever seen, but other times not so much. What do you think about this main event, this title eliminator between Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy?
I really do like it. I love the fact that we have two undefeated fighters who are actually willing to lose their O and put everything that on the line to get a title shot. You know, this is you have two people who are so wrapped up in the sport that they have never lost, they have never experienced defeat, and they want to be the best in the world. So they have to go through one more person after this. It's not like this is the end of the journey, you know. Who's going to come in here and not overlook their opponent, but have the understanding that once they get through them, they still have more to go. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I would hate to see if Mosvar wins because he ain't gonna get the title shot. And I know that's crazy to say that he wouldn't get it if he won. Guys, he doesn't fight often. Do you think Volk's gonna wait a whole fucking year for this dude? Even if he wins, we will jump him because he's not gonna fight for a whole lifetime. It's just how it is, unfortunately. I've seen him fight two different times in the last 2 years. And he fought two times in the first year. Like that's craziness.
I mean, you're not wrong about the inactivity, but I would suspect that if he is next in line for the belt, that's just going to have to be what it's going to be. I think that he's going to have to get the fuck back in there, or you're right, he does get passed over, and then he's just number one contender forever.
I don't think I see this dude fighting for a belt just because he's not going to be active enough. I think it's completely possible that we want to give Volk more title fights because he's getting older, and Mosvar again, and that's setting aside the boring factor. This is a decision guy. This is a guy who's never had a finish. But if he doesn't willingly participate in combat sports after this fight, he's not going to fight Alexander Volkanovski, unfortunately, is what I.
All right, well, fair enough. I mean, we'll find out what happens at that point when we get to it. But in this fight right here, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think? I mean, obviously, this is about as clear styles make fights kind of fight as you get. I mean, Lauren Murphy, a striker, Evloev, a grappler. What is going to happen? Who is going to get their way?
This one is tough because I would love to believe in Lerone Murphy, but guys, if you saw what Aaron Pico was able to accomplish in one round against Lerone Murphy, I just don't know if I can bet against Mozart. And I know I'm talking a big game that he's not going to fight for the belt and he's inactive, but guys, he is decent. I mean, and more than decent. He's beaten everybody that we have thrown his way that we have thought is good enough to beat him. And even in his debut, or not his debut, but Diego Lopez's debut, I mean, that's a dude who just fought for the belt two different times. And Mosvar beat that guy. Lerone Murphy is maybe just not where I think he needs to be to win this fight. I'm gonna go with Mosvar by submission, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am also sadly going with Movsar Evloev. I think it'll probably not be a submission. I think it'll be a lot of rolling around, be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot like Miktabek and Chris Curtis in a way, maybe less wrestling heavy, but on the ground, just a lot of the things that make Movsar the fighter that is exactly what people think about him, that he's, kind of bores people. He's doesn't have a very fan friendly style, but he has a style that is very effective, that he has honed very well. I mean, it's an unfortunate reality. And that's another one of those things that when you talk about this sport, like, people get all up in arms about the style of these fighters when it wins them fights, and they are not necessarily here to impress you. So like if their goal is to win the fight, that's what Movsar does, and that is what he has done 19 times effectively. I don't see Lerone Murphy's skill set being able to last in a 5-round fight against a dude who's going to be able to get his hands on him, get him, muscle him around, do all the things that Movsar has done to everybody else. I hate to say that. I like Lerone Murphy a lot. I think that I always go back to the Edson Barbosa fight. That was the time when I said Lerone Murphy has champion potential. But then we saw him get muscled around a whole bunch by Dan Ige, and that's where the opinion started to change. So I don't see a skill set that is in place to handle the Dagestani style. Just is what it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'm taking Mosvar.
Yeah, so am I. And then we'll see if Movsar is inactive enough to not fight for the belt. I mean, I would think that should light a fire under his ass that he has to come back if he wants to actually be the champion. But who knows if he does or not? Who knows a lot of things about Movsar? He's a guy who likes to hang out doing other things a lot of the time. We don't even hear from him a whole bunch.
Yeah, but that comment from Hydra that he just posted, that should let you know all the information you need to know about him. So anybody out there reading, have fun with that one. But let's see. Did I disconnect again? Did I disconnect again? Or did Thinker disconnect this time? Oh, brother. Let's see what we got here. Oh, is it me or is it Thinker, everybody? Do I have to continue the show on my own?
Here he goes. There he
Mm, okay. Was it me or you that time?
who knows? I don't know. I mean, it was coming up, always does that at weird times. So I'm just hoping that the internet holds out because it has been going out around this time.
Good deal. All
Oh,
right.
and here we go again. So
Well, we have a little bit left to discuss, so we can jump right
yes, of
into the
course.
co-main.
Absolutely move in and hopefully outrun the internet. Luke Riley is in the co-main with Michael Aswell. What are you thinking here?
This is a co-main event if I have ever seen one.
I like it.
This is nuts here. Luke Riley is somebody who had a good performance in his contender series, but uh co-main event is pretty crazy. Michael Aswell, Josh Van's best friend. What can you say? I'm gonna go ahead and take the dog here. I assume the dog and Michael Aswell because this is the King Latino chin. Luke Riley's not gonna be able to knock my guy out, so I'm gonna take the dog here, even though because why not? It's not like it's a high caliber matchup. It's not like, oh, if I pick wrong, then I have to watch this dude go fight for the belt. It's like if I'm wrong, Michael Aswell probably just loses by decision. Like, oh well.
Yeah, well, then that's why I think I'm going with Luke Riley. Is yes, Michael Aswell is the Iron Chin. I mean, he is the Iron Chin of Texas. Most certainly that. That's when we talk about Vallejos in the last fight. That's where you really saw Vallejos striking come into its own, or at least be showcased in that capacity. Is because Michael Aswell tanks shots like nobody's business. However, he does tank a lot of shots. So that being said, I think that Luke Riley, even though we have not seen enough out of him to really get a full-on informed opinion, if Michael Aswell took that many shots from Bellagio, they're setting Luke Riley up for a big moment at home in England. I think he can at least make it enough to win this by decision, which is probably what's going to happen. He'll lay on all of his best shots. He'll be able to hopefully have cardio enough to do that throughout the entirety of the fight. Aswell just not able to keep up with all of that. Loses by decision at home. Not the worst loss for Aswell losing overseas. Everybody goes on to their next fight thereafter with Luke Riley getting it done in the hometown.
I don't hate it, but I still want to take. I'm taking my Josh Van's friend pick.
I like it. That's fine. And, I like Michael Aswell. So if he can pull the upset off in England, then go USA. I'm cool with that too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take Luke Riley in this one. All right. MVP Michael Venom Page is fighting Sam Patterson, the man who has been consistently counted out. This is England versus England. I love this fight right here. I think this is an excellent fight.
This one is an interesting one, but I'm gonna stick to my guns and believe that MVP is just one of these guys that is a special talent that is a lot better than people give him credit for. He hasn't fought in a while, but he has wanted to be active. He's obviously taking on a non-ranked opponent, which is very risky for him if he actually wants to be competitive towards the top of the division and actually fight for a belt. Doesn't really seem like he's interested in doing that anymore. This could be a ploy to get lower ranked just so he has somebody to fight. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and take MVP with that being said.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because, as I said, Sam Patterson is a guy who's been counted out consistently and then come like to overcome that. Like, I mean, Sam Patterson is a tough fighter, man. Like, he really does not get as much credit as he deserves. But I do think that this might be a little bit too big of a jump in talent level right here. Like, I think MVP is just a little bit craftier than what Sam Patterson has ever faced before. And the skill set that Sam Patterson has, I don't think is going to be able to overcome the creativeness of MVP. I think that's the problem here. MVP, all of the things that you know about him, all of the things that make him a hard fight for a lot of guys, the same things that were giving Kevin Holland all those problems back in his debut or whatever. These are the things that I think that he brings to the table against Sam Patterson, who's just not going to be at the level of being equipped for it. So it's unfortunate because I don't want to see Sam Patterson's little win streak that he is on derailed, but I think that MVP has all of the tools to be the winner of this one.
So you're going MVP as well?
I am. I hate choosing against my guy Sam Patterson. If he wins this fight, I will be very much kicking myself. But yeah, I'm gonna go with MVP.
Easy.
Easy. All right, next one's easy too. This is Ivo Baranchevsky versus Austin Lane. Good Lord, you want to talk about teeing up Ivo for another highlight-worthy performance here. This is exactly what they are doing with this matchup.
Yep, this one is very easy for me. I would say place your money for this not to leave the first round. Take Iwo by knockout. Easy.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that there's really any two ways about it. Austin Lane is really just a guy who they put up against dudes to make them look better. Evo coming out here putting on potential fight of the year last year. This dude is going to go in here and blitz the ever loving shit out of Lane. Lane does not have any skill set that's going to be a problem for Evo. That not that we have seen anyway. I mean, it's not like he's going to go and level change and make this a more entertaining fight or more exciting fight or a more what if kind of fight than what you're thinking about it right now. I think Evo, we don't have the odds here, but I would imagine that he's probably going to be the biggest favorite on this card based on this matchup. Go with what you know. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Evo round one knockout is probably about the safest method that you're going to have on all of this card.
Yes, absolutely. And I love it, honestly. I mean, it's exactly valid. I mean, we should not have any questions. It's Austin Lane. This will probably be the last performance that he has in the UFC if all goes well.
I mean, Hydra is coming in with a little bit of a curveball here, saying that Evo said in an interview that he might want to throw in some judo, so taking over half a round might be the way. But I mean, a lot of people say a lot of things. I think that going in with the skill set that he has already shown is probably the safer mindset, but that is certainly something to keep in mind. So thank you for putting that in.
Well, the thing that I would say to that is that it's probably likely that we get to see some judo out of Evo because Austin Lane's probably going to try to tackle, bro. Ex-football player, definitely the wrestler style if he ain't got the striking and he don't want to stand with this dude. I would say Austin Lane shoots for a takedown and Evo fucking flips him. So
Yeah, certainly could be. Any of these are possibilities, but all of them lead to the same conclusion, which is Ivo Baranchevsky getting a vicious win here. So
yes.
Rip Austin Lane, stick with Evo. We're both going with Evo, I'm assuming here. All right, very good. Next up, look who's back. Roman Dolidze is fighting Christian Leroy Duncan. I mean, Roman Dolidze got ridiculously outworked and outmaneuvered and then had his head snatched off by Fluffy. Christian Leroy Duncan is fighting outside of the apex. What are your thoughts here?
That's the key here. Christian Leroy Duncan does not perform when he is outside of the apex, hence why he gets shipped back to the apex to go fight. That's the more interesting thing. He goes up and faces who the fuck was it? I forget that fucking dude's name. Pulayev. Pulayev in England and gets a boring decision. They send him back to the apex against a very scary opponent in Marco Tulio. And what does he do? Destroys that dude. Roman Dolidze, though, in England, Christian Leroy Duncan, those bright lights are just too much for him. So I'm really gonna take Roman Dolidze here because, again, I took him against Fluffy. I've taken him against a couple people because he really does speak to me as somebody who has the skills in this era that he could be very good, even at 37. And at this weight class, he has the stalling kind of ground pressure kind of deal. He could win this if he gets Christian Leroy Duncan down. And if Christian Leroy Duncan gets down, I'm gonna say that he's probably looking up at those lights a lot longer than he's expecting to. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah, I'm certainly understanding the thought process with that. Just Dolidze has been such an underwhelming guy in a lot of ways to me. I mean, you certainly see a lot more in him than I do at times, and I mean that's even coming from like the wins that he has had. It's like it feels like he wins, but it's never like that. Like you never have that moment of like that's the guy out of him ever. Like never ever. I don't think. I mean, like this is a guy who's been close to title contention in the past. I mean, or at least closer than he is now. It's just I've never really like seen that level of like go out and get it out of him. Christian Leroy Duncan has been a dude that's been spotty to me as well, but does pull victories out. Man, I know I understand the the like all of what you said about the apex and the lack thereof. With this fight, the back and forth element of it. Christian Leroy Duncan at home. I'm going England on this card, man. I think I'm going to England heavy, it would seem, but I think I'm going to go with Christian Leroy Duncan. I think that Dolidze is just too far gone.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Chase, are you attracted to Dolidze or something? Does he have pictures that you don't want us leaking? What's going on, man? Dude,
Yes.
Roman Dolidze, guys. You guys are saying that he doesn't give you the moments that be like, that's it right there. It's like you don't need the one moment that tells you it. He does everything else in the fight that shows you that he's a world class
Right.
competitor.
He's consistently mid, guys. He's
Listen, when you have somebody like that, they can selectively win against people. You have Christian Leroy Duncan, who is selectively amazing, versus the guy who's consistently mid.
And a guy
There's
who's been
there's a
consistent.
decision win right there.
I've consistently mid at the end of his career versus Christian Leroy Duncan, who is, on the come up theoretically, at least 30 years old, fighting in front of his home country, crowd backing him and all that. I
I've
mean,
seen him fight in front of his home country before. Is all
that
that
is
I'm
true.
saying.
No, you're right about that. All right, well then we'll see. We will see. And as always, people, you know that Chase and I are streaming to our individual channels. You go to the channel who you think has the better picks, and you make sure you hit that like button.
Hell yeah.
All right, next up, Curtis Campbell, the Pink Panther, is going up against Danny Silva. We saw some fun things out of the Pink Panther on his debut on the Contender Series. However, this is his debut. It is in the UFC proper, and it is against Danny Silva. What do you think?
Danny Silva, one of my favorite prospects. He doesn't fight as often as I wish he did, but if you guys didn't know, he has faced Kevin Vallejos, and he did not get finished by him. Arguably, I think it was it a split decision somehow, some way. I think a round or so went to Danny Silva, but not necessarily the closest in my opinion. Kevin definitely won, but Danny definitely put up a performance that makes you believe that he's not somebody to mess around with. Curtis Campbell coming into the organization. This is a tough debut. This is somebody again who's consistently good. He can consistently do what he does for 3 rounds, get to decision. That's easy. Curtis Campbell has a knockout or a TKO on the Contender Series in the first round. What do we know about him when it gets past that point? Danny Silva's not going to get knocked out. He's going to go to decision. Now it's just really up to Curtis Campbell to be able to take the reins. Are you going to be able to lead with damage? Because Danny Silva's he's a volume striker. He's going to be able to put a pressure on you. He's going to walk you down, and he's going to drop a lot of strikes on you. So Curtis Campbell, his only way to win is to nullify the striking and get it down to the ground, and or lead with damage and open up Danny Silva or knock him down, whatever you want to say. But at 23 years old, I don't know. We have too many 23, 24-year-olds going around right now that are good. I mean, it's hard for me to say like that 23-year-old's going to be the guy too, because guys, that's really fucking young. That's really fucking young. Like, I don't know.
True. I mean, you're making good points. I mean, I think the other thing about Campbell that I noticed pretty early on is this guy is blind. People,
Mm,
I don't know if you recognize that or remember that, but he wears glasses that are about as thick as Coke bottles. I don't know if that obviously did not play a factor in his first fight on the Contender Series, and he has never lost. He's 8-0. But I mean, granted, you can put that to the side. That's just something to keep in mind. The same way that Dair Nurgashai has the tick. It's like
mhm.
he's still winning fights. Put it to the side as a little thing in the back of your mind. Danny Silva has been pretty consistently decent. At least off of what we have seen, even in defeat. I think that he holds his own. I think you're making good points about that. Campbell, it took a while for him to get that victory, if I recall. I don't
It
think it
was a
was around.
minute.
Oh, was it that early? My mistake then. Sorry, I thought that it was a little bit longer than that. I thought it went into the second round. So if that's the
Minute
case,
20 seconds.
minute 20 seconds, then that is a misremembering on my part. I'm still going Danny Silva though. I mean, this is I think about as clear of a we don't have enough information as it gets. Like you said, also a young guy, so there might not be that much information to be had in general about him yet. Coming off the Contender Series, Silva with UFC experience, especially he said Kevin Vallejos, he's got a little bit of a crash course in the sport at the highest level from that. I think Danny Silva is the guy to go for on this one. So I'm going against England on this pick.
But what I will say is the caveat is that if Curtis Campbell does get past Danny Silva, he has answered all the questions that I need to know about his ability to thrive at this level. Because Danny Silva, yeah, he's just a striker. That's fine. He has no takedown ability that he's going to go ahead and showcase, but he's tough, and he will not give up until the judge raises his hand. But if Curtis Campbell even loses by decision, I still think that's a positive. That's really good experience against somebody who's very skilled. But
For sure. And then, once he has that UFC money, he can go and get LASIK and all of the vision problems are no longer problems.
And to shout out Hydra, I do like the Pink Panther as well. I really think he has aura. I like the nickname. I like the music that plays when he leaves. I'm down for it. But he has to get through Danny Silva first before I believe in that. So
Same. And really, I mean, taking away the fighter himself, I mean, it goes back to always the same point that I make about the Contender Series guys. It takes a very special, unique talent to say this guy coming off the Contender Series is going to be effective in the UFC.
100%.
That's how I look at it. So, all right, moving on down to the prelims. Mason Jones is back. He is going up against Axel Sola. Axel is the Frenchman. He is also coming off of the Contender Series, I believe, or no? Is he? Oh, he's a guy who came in straight to the organization, right?
Yes, he came in from Aries.
Yes, yes, he is the Aries gentleman. He got a win in his debut. I don't remember too much about that win. Can you?
Paris, fucking France. Kaio and Imavov, September 6th, 2025. He knocked out Reese McKee.
So there you go. Um, I mean, Mason Jones is a dog, brother. Like this is a dude who's come back, who's come through crazy adversity in his last fight to get the victory, snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat. He is a dude who had to go outside of the organization to rehone himself, to make sure that he was the man that he was presenting himself as. Comes back, has a great performance against Jeremy Stevens, who is somebody who is still very dangerous to this day. Wins that fight in tremendous fashion, I thought. And it has a well-rounded skill set that you saw from that fight. You know, he struck for 2 rounds. He had to wrestle in the third round, made that his own there too. Sola coming in and knocking out Reese McKee, a guy who gets knocked out. I don't think that it's enough to sway me over to the Frenchman here.
I'm also not taking Sola here. I'm taking Mason Jones. He has definitely shown me that he's quite the competitor, and not only the competitor. I mean, he has the skill set that would it's a little underrated. I actually think he does a lot of things well, and even the things that he's not doing well, the positions that he's making them competitive. So I really do like Mason Jones here.
I mean, on our end of the year award show, we had a category that was biggest stock raise. And we didn't end up giving the award to him, but I think I gave a little bit of a nod to Mason Jones on that because coming back from outside the organization and having 2 very solid wins in the year, he's certainly someone who has righted the course of his career. And now really he just has to ride that out and take it as far as it can go. I think that this is another prime opportunity for him to prove that he belongs. So I agree. I think he is underrated, and this could be another nice notch for him to get properly rated.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, your buddy Nathaniel Wood is fighting next, and he's going up against Lucene Kaita. Kaita, of course, is the dude from
Octagon.
Octagon. Yeah, he's the Octagon guy. He's the guy who missed weight against Pitbull, and Pitbull iconically told him, "Tough noogies, brother. You're not getting the fight," even though he begged for it. So we'll see if he makes weight this time. That's the first thing that he has to do. And second thing, he has to fight Nathaniel Wood. So what are you thinking?
Nathaniel Wood, I said this a couple weeks ago when we talked about this originally. Nathaniel Wood has a fighting style that is unfortunately made for split decisions. I mean, and I think that is the best case scenario for Keita, is that you go up against somebody who, at best, again, is going to give you a decision call. You just got to make it close, and we can fudge the numbers for you. And Nathaniel Wood getting robbed in London, yeah, that would be horrible. But this is best case scenario for Keita to actually get in the division and get to a running start, because if not, who else is going to fucking fight this dude if it's not Nathaniel Wood? I mean, nobody's been jumping out the seats to fight him, and obviously they can't be some fucking nobody. Like, he's somebody that is decently touted, so he's got to have a name to him. Like, when you look at Wicklax, it's the same deal. He has to get somebody who's decent enough that it makes sense for him to jump into the organization against.
Well, and that's the thing is that's why Kaida comes in at an odd kind of position here because he is a champion of that organization, but he's not necessarily someone that they felt was worthy of being jumped super high up in the rankings. But it still has to be a name enough to make a name off of if he wins. So I do think that this is I thought Pitbull was super appropriate. You know, I thought that was the exact right level. A guy, former champion elsewhere, really not great in the UFC. I thought that would have been perfect. He screwed that one up. So I mean, like, really, this guy Keita is coming in with a lot of weird dynamics to this fight. You know, based on everything that we're talking about right there. Nathaniel Wood is probably the exact right guy to get that running start over, like you had said. So, I mean, it's a tough call because you don't know enough about him. I mean, I have not seen his fights in Octagon. And of course, it's Octagon versus UFC experience. Nathaniel Wood, 22 wins on his record, 6 losses. The guy's has 28 professional fights. He's seen a whole hell of a lot, but he's also not a very powerful guy. There's a lot of dynamics to this one. That all being said, Chase, what's your actual thought here? What's going to happen?
I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to go with Kada by split decision specifically. I think you guys should note that I'm taking him by split decision.
You bastard. I was taking Kata myself. Yeah,
Fuck.
I mean, it's tough. Like, it's a
Now we're
tough
both
one.
going to look stupid.
Why is that?
If Kada fucking loses.
I know. Well, but see, now you got to understand the thought process, though. It's Nathaniel Wood is the reason why. He is a solid fighter who does not have finishing ability, so it becomes a very large volume striking affair. And if your opponent is able to put the power on and navigate the striking encounters, then it always becomes this sort of middle ground that you never know which way it's going to go. I'd say that the margin is rather thin, not even knowing Kaida. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about him to make this call, but knowing Wood is how I make the call.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm taking Kaida by split decision. What about you?
I'll go with Nathaniel Wood then. I
Oh,
guess
you motherfucker.
I will, for the sake of being different and for the sake of not, again, for Kaida having made the mistakes that he already has made. I think I'm taking that choice knowing full well that it's going to possibly be pretty embarrassing.
Okay. No, it won't be embarrassing because, like I said, this is going to be a close fight. I'm sure of it.
I mean, yeah, and I'm sorry, Hydra. I understand what you're saying. I don't dislike Nathaniel Wood. Hydra saying, the thought process being Wood hurts your soul. I hear you, bro. And I have said, go back to earlier episodes of this show. Nathaniel Wood's last fight, I said, if Nathaniel Wood just had finishing ability, the guy would be an absolute beast. He'd be a super big problem for a lot of people. He just has pillow hands. It's
Absolutely.
how it goes.
Yep.
So I will take him. I will take him in his volume striking, but I am thoroughly prepared to be embarrassed by this pick.
All right. I'm excited for it.
And I will certainly not be betting on him with actual money, by the way.
There you go.
All right. Next up, we've got Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. Franco is another Contender Series guy. This is a dude I do remember off the Contender Series. Big knockout guy. Pinto, a dude, making a little bit of a name for himself, getting some good wins in the organization. He's a hometown guy to an extent. Portuguese out of England. What are you thinking?
Well, Felipe Franco got submitted on his Contender Series on his Contender Series fight by Freddie Vidal. So I'm not taking him, unfortunately.
Oh, so they're bringing another guy back who got submitted by Freddie Vidal and did not get a win on the Contender Series?
Nope, he went out and got two wins in Kaliso Extreme and then Mamute Fight Champion. He got a knockout and a submission. And yeah, oh wow, he actually fought February 7th. So he's hopping in, 40 days later.
Well, gosh darn it. I had thought, a lot of times when I remember the name, I often think I remember the name for good reasons. But obviously, I remember Felipe Franco because he got submitted by Freddie Vidal. Now, he lasted in that fight for a while. I mean, it was a third round submission, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is the first guy. Yes, it was the third round with 12 seconds left. Yeah, where he just
Correct.
kind of gave up. He's like,
Yeah. So, I mean, he might be able to like stick it out in this fight for a while, but Pinto has been doing some really nice things. So, yeah, I think that based on now being refreshed in my memory, which I'm so glad that you do every week, Chase, thank you for that. Yeah, Mario Pinto in this fight, I think that is a pretty solid choice. In fact, he might be another one that's a pretty heavy favorite.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Mario Pinto is going to win this one for me. This has been my life waiting for Mario Pinto to fight.
Another dude, another guy to do it in front of the hometown. He'll get to have another little meme moment on the microphone. He's got a personality. I like the guy as well. Go out there, get the job done easy.
Yes.
All right. Next up. Our dude Montes is back. Montes contra Tavicius is fighting Antonio How the fuck, dude? Antonio Tricoli is who he's fighting. How? Chase, please explain to me how Tricoli is still in this organization. Is it because he's married to Mackenzie Dern? I don't understand.
It must be, dude. I can't tell you how he's still here, but I can tell you that he unfortunately is going to get finished in this fight by my boy Montes. And that's about all that I'm going to say about it. Antonio Tricoli is definitely the punching bag. He is tough. Listen, as much as I don't like the guy, when it comes to the sport of combat, like he is a tough fighter. He lasted 3 rounds with Shara Bullet and then got finished. Whatever you want to say, he might last a longer than anybody's going to give him credit for against a young prospect with not much experience. But Montes is still going to win, no doubt.
He's tough in striking exclusive fights for sure. I mean, like, which is what Shar was doing. This guy cannot defend a standing guillotine to save his life. This is the easiest tape study that any fighter ever has to do. I mean, like, if you watch this guy's fight, all you know is punch him in the stomach long enough to have him dip his head down if you are shorter than him, which, I mean, Montes only a couple inches shorter, so this shouldn't be that big of an issue. Get him folded over in any time, way, shape, or form, grab his neck and crank on it, and you win the fight. That is
Yep.
how this goes. So, I mean, Tricoli is, this is really like, I do not understand. This is a guy, you got to recall here, people. This is a guy who popped for steroids, came in for some reason off of a, I mean, he lost as well. Like he was coming in like not with a winning record or like coming off of a loss, whatever. Like either way, he comes in off of shaky ground to say the least, and has looked so terrible in all of his fights that it's amazing to me that he could ever be on a card again. This, if he loses this fight and still stays around, this is going to be the most baffling case in the UFC because there's literally nothing that you can point at as to why he should still be here.
Absolutely. Logic will tell you that Antonio Tricoli is just not at the level to compete in the UFC. Therefore, I'm not going to be placing USD on him ever again.
Bingo. Well said. And I also am going for Montes contra Tavicius in this fight. Go out there and do it for Lithuania, my brother. Do it for our guy, Ziggy Mantis, who left us too soon.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's funny is the only two people I know from Lithuania other than the female, they both have Mantis in their name. I don't know why. I
Because it
don't.
goes super hard. That's why
True.
they know how to name their children over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, next up on the card is Louis Sutherland versus Brando Perichik. Of course, Brando is the Australian who I believe is coming off that very nice win, or was he the guy that got finished?
He got a knockout against Alicia Ellison.
Right. Yes,
Liza,
Alicia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Alicia Ellison, the dude who, yeah, the former soldier guy. That was a big one there. Brando is a dude who takes the sport very seriously. I remember all of his pre-fight interview stuff talking about how he basically left his family to do this. He's all in on the sport kind of thing. Going up against Louis Sutherland, who I believe got finished by Walter.
Walter.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Chase?
I think I'll probably just take Brando just because I'm curious to see what a young prospect in the heavyweight division is going to look like in 2026. Louis Sutherland, obviously, just not anybody that you need to look out for. I'm not going to lie to you, bro.
The one thing that sticks out with Louis Sutherland and why I am also going with Brando Perichik on this fight is I recall going into the Walter Walker fight, commentary was saying, Sutherland's corner, they know everything that Walter's coming in with. You don't think that they know about the heel hook? These guys are in there training every. Sutherland has all of the skills, all of the resources, all of the technique. And what happened? He got hooked by the heel. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that just shows that either you were not taking all that stuff seriously enough, or you don't have the wherewithal to take it serious or to counteract it, which is really where my thought process here, trying to take heads off. Sutherland, not up to the challenge.
Sutherland just shows up built like a fridge and leaves. So that's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. Not making Scotland look too good. Scotland needs more great fighters, especially after the king has left us.
Oh, yeah.
All right, going on down the fights on this card. There's Shamrock. He is fighting Abdul Karim Al Sawadi. I mean, this, if you were talking about teeing up Shamrock, dude, Shamrock getting some kind of Dana White privilege over here, which I do not understand. He did not look great in his first fight. This is Shamrock, the same guy that has the weird running away from the law history and all this kind of stuff. He's an odd character, kind of kicking himself after getting dominated in his first fight, and then they give him Al Sawadi. I don't understand this one either.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I can't tell you how Shamrock is going to win, but I would just pray to God that they're giving him a layup in England if this is the name that it is. This has to be a layup. If not, brother, you got problems if you lose to a dude that I don't even care to try to pronounce all the names that he has. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and we've seen Al Sweaty not be good already. So like, I mean, Shamrock, you have to win this fight. Like, there is
mhm.
no two ways about it. If you do not win this fight, then you are not cut out for the UFC, and there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
All right, so we're both going Shamrock on that one.
Yes.
Oh God, I really don't want to put like I don't like doing that because I'm not a big fan of that guy, but whatever. All right, next up, yes, I knew you were going to be excited about this one. Of course, this is Chanel Dyer versus Ravina Oliveira. Chanel Dyer, the English queen out here with all the belts. She's got every accolade that you could possibly imagine, right? That was her in the picture, yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. And to just have a point, the woman that she faced on the Contender Series and got her ass whooped by, too. She did pop for steroids, or
Oh,
she popped for something. So I would love to let you guys know that there's an asterisk next to that ass whooping. But she did go out there, and Chanel Dyer, I have said this, she got into the UFC. Listen, she lost very convincingly. She didn't really have an opportunity to win, but not many women will continue to get beat up like that. They will continue to fight 3 rounds after losing every single one of them very convincingly, getting knocked down multiple times in every single round. She has heart, and I've seen it, and I know she has skills because I know she has, governmental commissions that are fucking backing her with all these golds and shits that she has. She's going to come out here and win this fight. I mean, obviously, in England, they want her to. Nobody's going to believe that she can because of how bad the performance was in the Contender Series, but she's going to win this fight. I mean, I'm 100% positive that she gets this one done against a Brazilian Oliveira that ain't Charles. Give me a break.
can you do me a quick favor, Chase, and look at Ravina Oliveira's record real quick and tell me what her last fight, how that ended?
She lost to Stephanie Luciano by submission. And then
It,
before that was 2 years ago to Tayanara Lisboa.
Yeah, exactly. So really what I'm getting at with that, I remembered her coming off of the loss. This is not a for people who don't know Ravina and think, oh, you see a Brazilian girl, this is going to be the grappler that you think that she's going to be. Not this one. Not this one. She got submitted by her opponent there as opposed to being the submitter. So yeah, I think that this could be a nice tee up for Dyer as well. I think that this would be a nice, again, she's early on in the card, out here in the home country, coming off, getting her contract off of heart and grit alone. So that all being said, if there is no, if Ravina had any submission threat, that would be why I would be like, okay, I'm going to go with her. But since there is no submission threat coming from that side, if this stays on the feet, Dyer, all of those accolades come from striking. She was a Muay Thai fighter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, like this is gonna be a nice strikers affair. Chanel Dyer goes out there, lays hands on her. She might even get the finish here.
Yeah, I would love to believe that we're going to get. I've said this a while back. According to the stats, there's not that many English women that have ever been in the UFC, but for the most part, they're finishers. They are finishers.
So there you go. So yeah, I mean, I think the Chanel gets the job done here as well. I think that would be a nice way for her to loss with the asterisk.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and starting off this card, your girl Melissa Mullins is fighting Luana Carolina. Luana Carolina, who has been possibly one of the least exciting, a person who has been one of the more underwhelming fighters that I can think of in recent memory, versus Melissa Mullins, who good but has had a couple of spotty instances.
Luana Carolina has been TKO'd by Molly McCann.
There you
I
go.
have nothing else to say to you guys. That's another English woman who is a lot more inferior to Melissa Mullins. But in this matchup, what I would like to believe is because I follow Melissa Mullins on Instagram, she's always working on her grappling. I'm going to say we're going to get a submission win for Melissa Mullins in this one. She hasn't had one in her career yet, which would sound crazy if she has some illustrious regional background, but she's 7-2. So submissions, if she has that in her game, if she's willing to utilize that, they're going to start racking up. So
Fair enough. I mean, I like it. I also saw Mullins, early on in her career, and was impressed then. Couple of times of adversity here and there does not surprise me. She's only 7-2 in the
Mhm.
big picture, so it's not like she's on some crazy losing streak or in jeopardy of any kind of real negative repercussions. From any of the losses she's already taken. She is a little bit older. She's 34 years old, so you want to see some of these things kind of getting ironed out, like right here, right now. But Luana Carolina has been, like I said, the only word that I can think of to describe her is underwhelming and under delivering. So I will also go with Melissa Mullins here. And just to finish it up, I am not surprised that you follow her on Instagram, Chase.
Yeah, absolutely. You took Chanel as well, right?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay, just making sure. But yeah, no, absolutely. I follow Melissa Mullins on Instagram. I had to find out if she had a boyfriend or not, and she does. I think she's married, but either way, she's cool.
Well, there you go. All right, fair enough. So, yeah, I mean, those are the you got all of our picks locked in there, Chase.
All of the picks are locked in here.
All right. Well, then that takes us to the end of it, and we will find out who wins all of these fights on Saturday. Of course, this is an earlier start time, by the way. This is 4 o'clock p.m. for the main card, one
Oh
o'clock p.m.
shit.
1 p.m. is the start time for this thing because it is in England. So make sure that you set your clocks and calendars accordingly. Early card for this thing, but we will be on our individual watch alongs. I don't know. I guess I know that I will. Hopefully, Chase will be as well.
Yeah.
You can find me at youtube.com/@YamaShow for the watch along of this event. Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me hanging out with my new favorite friend, Miktabek Orabai, on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And of course, if you guys want to come hang out with Miktabek with me, you're more than welcome. He'll be here as always.
I think you have to, man. It's just too iconic. Such a baller move that you got that. I am at Yamashow on I'm at Yamashow on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook. Make sure you follow your boy on the socials. And of course, if you were not here earlier in the stream, I must reiterate that this Wednesday, everybody, will be the big reveal of the merchandise. So please make sure that if you are wanting to get merchandise, that you come around because there's going to be something very special for all you guys that are there on that live stream. So Wednesday, either 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'll let you know the start time coming up very soon. Make sure you're following the socials so that you know about the start time for it. But the merchandise reveal is this Wednesday, and I appreciate so much your support. Appreciate your support on this very podcast right here as well.
Oh, yeah. You guys are awesome.
All right. So until then, everybody, I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.